This is Cybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map Mountain Pass for game number 1 of the semifinals of the Christmas Comes Late 1v1 tournament as the green GDI in the north. This is Drive. And as the orange GDI in the south, this is Orange Zero, aka Green Zero, who is going to be playing orange, and the other guy who's playing green is named Drive, because we can never get less confusing names for these guys. Mountain Pass is the map. Welcome back to the Christmas Comes Late coverage. If you missed the quarterfinals, well, I guess you've kind of already been spoiled, but you can still watch the second half of the quarterfinals, spoiler-free, if you leave right now. It will be linked in the description. This is a best of 5. We got 2 best of 5s and a best of 7 in this video. The 2 semifinals and the finals all concluding right here. Fast Airfield coming out, but it looks like it's just going to be for the engineer. And then, well, I guess something else is coming out from this airfield from Drive, Orca, or Hammerhead. Place your bets on how you feel this series is going to go. It's a best of 5, so it's going to be a 3-something in one direction or another. Both of these players are guaranteed $50 because that is the 3rd, 4th place split for this tournament. And then if they win this game, or rather if they win this series, they are guaranteed $100 because they made it into the top 2 for 3 orcas. A 4th orca canceled, and it's going to be just a 3 orca hit squad heading to the other side of the map. Big delay on the expansion and the economy by Drive, and it looks like the first pit bull is out. Green Zero is going to have to do some magic to avoid some big losses. Draws the harvesters to the other side. The splash damage lining up to ruin Green Zero's day here as Drive gets extraordinarily lucky. Those harvesters lining up directly on top of each other. Just against Green Zero is how that worked. Drive picks off another pit bull as his orca heads across the map. I mean, the orcas might get sniped on the deck, depending on what Drive decides to go for, but 2 harvesters and a pit bull completely resetting the eco count of Green Zero. Drive is going to try and trade this orca out against these pit bulls. He's going to get 1 pit bull, and then it looks like the orca might just go down to these remaining pit bulls, even using the harvesters to do a bit of attacking. And I assume no watchtower, but a pit bull? No, predator tank is going to be the response by Drive. Green Zero doing what he can to strike back against Drive. That upgraded power plant is a potential target, but what a start to the semifinals. Big thanks, by the way, to Alex and Roland, who donated the initial prize pool, and then Markus K, who came along at the last minute and sweetened the deal to give us the total of the $425 prize pool, which did include 2 random draw prizes, which we did at the end of the quarterfinals video. So you get to go see who didn't make top 4, but still got a little bit of a payout for playing Kane's Wrath in the year 2022. At any rate, on the other side of the bracket, we have, well, I guess I'm going to spoil the quarterfinals if you haven't seen them, but it's too late at this point. We have BikeRushOwnz and DuneTiger. A bit of a surprise. By the way, Drive did capture Green Zero's, and he gets the engineer snipe as well. Drive absolutely vicious in this game. Double harvester kill. Some glitching out with the camera. That was weird. The camera is getting stuck because of like the zoom level or something. I can't back up to the edge of the map. Anyways, Green Zero tries to recapture his own Tiberium spike, and the engineer gets sniped. Things are turning up. Drive, his economy is still a little bit slow as Green Zero expands to his natural and fills out his main base economy. He goes up to 5 and 2 before getting his natural expansion up and running, but Drive is not necessarily that far behind. He's at 4 harvesters, the 5th one just popping now, and he's got those 2 tib spikes as well. So Drive is not exactly in an ideal position, but he's looking to even things up once again. 3 Orcas coming in. He gets himself a Harvester, and Green Zero's Pitbulls over to the left side at the natural expansion, waiting to push back any attack, but they were just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Green Zero going to try and cross the map. He might be able to do some real damage with these Pitbulls. I'm not sure where that Predator tank is. It was running around in the middle of the map earlier, and it looks like it's going to be retreating back home. No actual Harvesters to harass at the natural expansion, so it's going to be trading Pitbulls against Pitbulls, and eventually Drive will win that fight utilizing the Watchtowers to absorb the shots of Green Zero's Pitbulls. So Green Zero wisely pulls back his own airfield, now up and running, the command post before the second expansion at the natural, before the second refinery rather, at the natural. By the way, big thanks to GwaspaRi, who refereed on the day, did a great job of getting the tournament going and keeping it all running. So big thanks to him helping me out in running this tournament and making sure that we had a great event, and that, you know, Alex, Roland, and Marcus's money went to providing some incredibly entertaining Kane's Wrath, which the games that I've seen have been a bit of a mixed bag, but at this point, with just the quarterfinals wrapped up, I'm very happy with the way that some of those series ended up as far as entertainment value. And now we have Drive versus Green Zero starting off in an explosive way. New Orca spawns in. Harvesters coming in, or Pitbulls rather, coming in for Drive. He's going to call in an Orca strike. He's going to tag one of these Harvesters maybe, but no, some additional Orcas show up at the same time. They snipe another Harvester. Drive relentless with this combination Pitbull and Orca strike coming in. Can you believe that? Green Zero jukes the Harvester to the left, and then as the Orcas come in to hunt it down, he jukes it back to the right, and it just lined up. Unfortunately for Green Zero, Drive getting extraordinarily lucky with his aggressive tactics, even beaconing the Harvesters of Green Zero to let him know that they're off the line. No, some more Harvesters some more Orcas showing up. Green Zero's Orcas sitting around waiting for Drive to take them down, but no, there aren't actually enough rockets there as Green Zero returns the favor with his own Orcas sniping the units of Drive. It looks like the economy at the natural is still somewhat holding together. Drive never really got his economy booming to begin with, but he's ready to start transferring over those Harvesters and actually get his economy at his natural fully saturated and rolling. The Engineer in the south from Green Zero finally going to be able to capture that tib spike. Green Zero going to get a Grenadier squad and clear out these foxholes so that Drive is no longer as big of a nuisance in that section of the map. Green Zero's Harvesters back to work. His economy is fully saturated, and he's looking great on his natural, but you have to imagine he must be flustered. Green Zero is a guy who's played a lot of games, but like anyone, he can still get frustrated at an individual match, and this is one of those ones where Drive hit him when he wasn't expecting it, and a couple of things have lined up serendipitously for Drive to be a bigger advantage than he otherwise would have had. A couple more Harvesters, it looks like, perhaps going down. Green Zero returning the favor is going to get one, but the splash damage on the return fire means 2 Orcas go down, and it looks like they just got that one Harvester, at least in that bombing run. These Orca strikes also from Drive have been relentless, just calling them in constantly, and I haven't seen quite as many going the other direction for the benefit of Green Zero. Orca strike comes in, Harvester, or the refinery rather, takes a bit of damage, but it's now up to 4 Harvesters. Green Zero, every time he gets his economy rolling, every time he looks like he's in a good position, he immediately gets jumped on by Drive. Now this blue Tiberium Harvester is about to get annihilated before it can even refine any of that Tiberium. Drive commits a lot to that attack. It may not have actually been worth it, but I think he only lost Pitbulls, so he probably still came out ahead. Maybe a couple of APCs swung that against him. But more Harvesters at the natural expansion getting sniped. Drive loses every single Orca, it looks like, and he's got his own Harvester down there, just taking a bit of rifle damage as Drive splits his Harvesters to go for the blue Tiberium in different corners. Green Zero flying the Orcas over, looking to hunt some Harvesters for himself. Barely is going to be able to escape, but his own Harvester is going to be going down. Drive pressuring the main base of Green Zero, the War Factory, under threat. And that's going to be cutting down the production of Green Zero. Hammerheads showing up, but it's Pred tanks on the ground with rocket squads against the APCs of Green Zero. Green Zero trying to bring in his own infantry. His Orca Strike is good. It catches some infantry, but the split from Drive is better. The reinforcing units are coming in for Green Zero, but is it going to be enough to actually stop Drive as he can bring these Hammerheads to bear at any moment? An AA battery comes in. More Orcas coming back for Green Zero, absorbing a couple of shots from those predators, or from those pit bulls, and it looks like Drive's onslaught has not been stopped. Green Zero losing another Orca on the deck, and the Bloodhounds are coming in to add extra life to the forces of Drive. Green Zero sells the airfield. The Hammerheads fly over but don't find any targets. Orcas coming in for Drive, targeting down a watchtower of all things, and finally Drive has been beaten back. Green Zero has stopped the bleeding, but what does he have left? He's got this natural expansion, not much in the way of production, just a barracks on the line, and Drive has hobbled together enough of an army to break Green Zero, but at the same time, he has taken his own third base, and that is going to seal the deal, as Green Zero has nothing to stop this army, and his economy is about to fall apart. He drops a War Factory. If only he had some units to play Ring Around the Rosie with. Hammerheads coming in, just absorbing that AA fire, and the Hammerheads going to lead the way to this charge, as it looks like the Harvesters, the power plants, all going to be getting targeted down. The command post has to be sold off, so that will be the last of the AA batteries. Not that it really matters, as the last Harvester for Green Zero falls, and Drive may not have destroyed every building, but he has destroyed the economy of Green Zero. GG gets called. A hard-fought game for sure. Drive opening up the aggression from the start and pretty much never letting up. Drive's own economy took such a long time to develop over the course of that game. He eventually did overtake Green Zero's economy, but I think only because Drive was killing so much of it. This game probably should have had like 25-30% more eco from both of these guys if it had been a normal match, but they both took a lot of damage, but Drive just prioritizing that aggression, and he found the damage that he needed against Green Zero. That will take us to game number 2. Drive is feeling good, which sends us to Tournament Undergrounds, a little portrait of an engineer, because that is who needs to run along there to capture that Tiberium spike. On the left side, playing as the pink GDI, this is Green Zero. And on the right side of Tournament Undergrounds, a short walk away, playing that green GDI, it's Drive. Drive feeling pretty good about his 1-0 start in this game. And honestly, before this series, I would have said, or before that first game, I would have said that this feels a lot like an even series. Like, I don't know which one of these guys is going to take it. It could definitely go 3-2 in either direction. And after that first game, it feels like, well, if Green Zero trips up on this second game as well, then it feels like a very clear win for Drive. And but I feel like Green Zero is going to be able to hit back, take some points off of Drive, and I feel like they're both in a pretty close place skill-wise. The last couple of times that they have played in tournaments that I saw, Drive was the winner of the series, but it usually did involve at least a couple of wins on the Green Zero side. And hey, this is a best of 5. This is not like a best of 9 or a best of 11 where you need to win a whole bunch of games. If Green Zero can just win 3 games in this series, he advances on to the finals. Pretty normal looking start for both players. Green Zero gets the scout off. Drive, I assume, is looking to do about the same thing. Looks like Drive got the tib spike in the north. Green Zero, of course, got the much closer tib spike in the south, so he's had that for a good while longer. Green Zero gets the somewhat permanent scout with that foxhole in the base of Drive, and Green Zero sees the timing of the MCV. These two guys mirrored pretty darn closely in everything that they're doing with GDI. First pit bulls are out. Tournament Underground's one of those maps that, we can see some double airfield play. Might be happening from Green Zero just because Drive hasn't been doing as much scouting. And Green Zero, on the other hand, still has this rifleman inside of the base of Drive. And, it looks like Drive may have actually cleaned up the other rifleman. At least one rifleman is still here, and that vision persists for a little bit, so if Drive is planning anything sneaky, he'll have to keep it out of his main base. There's actually going to be an airfield deposited. The command post is over here on the left side of the natural expansion for Green Zero. So he's doing a bit of hiding. Green Zero even going to try and re-garrison that rifleman. And this is not about scouting. This is entirely just about being annoying and causing some problems with Drive. They are doing the exact same thing down to almost the placement of that airfield. Just a very slight difference in the placement of the airfield, and they are both delaying their natural expansion to make it happen. AA batteries might actually be queued just out of... No, not for Drive. Not for Green Zero either, so they're both not willing to commit to that, although they should both be familiar with the other one to know that this is a definite possibility. Drive sees the command post over there at the natural. He also sees the empty natural, but Green Zero sees the empty natural of Drive as well, and they can both be pretty positive that the other guy is going for something very similar. Even if they're not going for the exact same thing, this is what it's going to be. It looks like Green Zero went up to the north, Drive went to the south, one harvester down, a second harvester gets eliminated, and Green Zero is going to have a tough time coming back from this now that Drive has a complete read on what Green Zero is doing. But let's see what Green can make happen. Rifleman coming in there at the natural expansion of Green Zero. Once again, Green Zero up to that natural expansion economy a bit more quickly than Drive is. That first harvester out and running, even the first two refineries up and running long before Drive gets his first up and running. And in the last game, the aggression worked out. One Orca down. Green Zero gets the kill on a second, and a third is about to be eliminated. There's actually the sell-off of the airfield as Drive sends out one Orca, I think on a suicide mission, to help out these pit bulls and try and attack more harvesters. So Drive coming in here for one last-ditch effort to try and kill off a harvester. He doesn't get it. Green Zero saves the harvester barely. I didn't actually see that pit bull on the ground, but there it was. And Drive, with this, I think, out-of-work harvester who was pulled off the line, he'll need to make sure that he gets that back up and running. And now that things have kind of calmed down, Drive has no more Orcas. Green Zero is going to lose maybe a couple of Orcas to the pit bulls of Drive here at the front, but Drive is keeping up the aggression. He gets another harvester. Green Zero is down to just 3 harvesters on his main field, but he's got that natural expansion rocking and rolling. That is really what Drive wants to be cutting down. 3 additional harvesters over there, and Green Zero doesn't have much Tiberium left at his main base. Green Zero responds. Pit bulls heading to the north. An additional war factory there to cut off some of those attack pads and also provide that repair for those units right there on the front line. Green Zero took some damage in the early game, but it looks like he's done a good job transitioning and recovering. And so I think in the mid-game, things are going to even out quite a bit. It feels like Drive did a bunch of damage to Green Zero, but honestly, I think Green Zero has bounced back well enough. He can transfer 2, maybe even 3 of the harvesters up to the north, and he is going to have a really solid economy to head into the mid-game. He's still got his command post, he's still got his airfield to potentially go into Firehawks or Hammerheads as the game progresses, and he's got some options with these pit bulls, even going tier 3 if he goes for mortars and just sticks with the mass pit bull strat. Drive's pit bulls getting overwhelmed by the forces of Green Zero. Green Zero going to be going deep onto enemy territory. And as reinforcements come in for drive, I think Green Zero may actually be kind of low on. Actually, the crane gonna get sniped, so whatever was building just got canceled, and Green Zero keeps his orcas alive, even firing a couple of latent shots there at that foxhole, trying to skirt around the edge of all of these pit bulls, and it looks like Green Zero is going to barely be able to escape the big swarm of drive pit bulls. No third base on the way just yet. I would guess it has to be a tech center on the way for Green Zero before that third base. More rocket squads in the middle of the map getting some free kills for Green Zero. Drive losing another pit bull right on the retreat there. A good start to Drive, but a game that feels like he is losing control of it and giving opportunities to Green Zero. Green Zero stabilizing from that early aggression, and in the mass pitbull versus mass pitbull game, defender's advantage can be a real winner for whichever side is defending. Drive heads up to the third base. The MCV, it looks like, is going to get there safely. Drive also patrolling the path to the third for Green Zero. He wants to make sure that Green Zero isn't getting a free expansion while Drive himself is taking his own third. Rocket squads coming in. They walked all the way across the map, and these APCs don't actually have AP ammo, so it's going to take them a little bit longer to clean up these rocket squads. They don't have comp armor yet, so they won't totally be unstoppable here as these APCs gun them down. The Harvester actually survives. I'm really surprised by that. And the pit bulls clashing in the north. Who knows who actually has the higher numbers here. It looks like Drive is maybe trying to just stay in one spot. Green Zero kind of surrounding Drive there as Green Zero's reinforcements come in, and Green Zero going to be able to push Drive back with a healthy pitbull advantage. Orca Strike coming back. It looks like Green Zero with a bombing run at the third base, but has turned himself back towards home. He might be circling back around to try and sneak into the main base or into the natural. Blue Tiberium getting grabbed there by Green Zero. He's going to walk himself back home to that main base, and the Marv is on the way. The Tier 3 is here, and I assume it's going to be railguns. Actually, it looks like the command post was sold off at some point and replaced here at a more central location there. Drive finally has his APCs here, but he doesn't have any good tools for dealing with that Marv. He doesn't even have his own railguns, although he should have Tier 3 up and running. No, he transitioned! He sold his MCV and he went for double airfield. I assume this is an engineer inside of that, yeah, from the MCV sale. And there is going to be the Marv queue as Drive is looking to... Oh, Drive actually gets the snipe on Green Zero's engineer. Green Zero's engineer is not a great life plan, is to be an engineer in Green Zero's army. Apparently, they get sniped quite a lot. Orcas coming in here, getting themselves 2, maybe even 3 harvesters, as Green Zero is willing to trade out his orcas for those harvester kills, and that is the big chunk of Drive's economy. No long-distance harvesting to the third base. It's going to be pretty much just slow trickle of eco for Drive for the rest of the game. He can still rebuild his MCV. Drive actually has a derelict harvester just sitting there, which unfortunately will get swarmed and mobbed by those pit bulls. One of the harvesters still surviving, and now Hammerhead's going to be coming in for Drive. He misses the transition as the MCV deploys at the third for Green Zero, and Drive is once again gonna get some fantastic splash damage, although he only got a couple of rockets off, so it really wasn't as impactful as it could be. Drive running away from this Marv, trying to find an angle that works for the offense, and somehow, despite the fact that Green Zero having the better army, he just can't quite close the distance enough to actually kill off Drive. As soon as Drive gets in range, he is dead to all of the stuff that Green Zero has. But he just keeps running around, and he's still in this game with his double airfield plays. There's the engineer trying to go for the cap of the MCV, which would have been amazing and might have been a game-winning move, but it is not meant to be. The laser fence protects against that. The engineer gets sniped. the watchtower, getting that kill for Green Zero. And it looks like the last hammerhead might be falling. A fully heroic pitbull in the service of Green Zero, and a double railgun Marv with the engineer in there as well. Green Zero is going to be hunting down the last forces of Drive. And it looks like Drive, his first game was a clear win, but this one was a bit of a slow death as Green Zero encircles the forces, encircles the buildings of Drive, going for his airfield there, trading out a couple of pit bulls to get the kill. And Drive, well, he's still got a war factory, so I guess technically he's still got a chance, but he has not had good harvester numbers for quite some time, and on top of that, his harvesters have to drive such a long way to get any Tiberium at all. Looks like he may have pulled some of the blue Tiberium as well, but that really doesn't matter at this stage. Green Zero has got the Marv, and if it comes down to some kind of a base race scenario, that's about the only way that Drive could try and win this, is to avoid fighting the army. But Green Zero just has like so much more stuff and an MCV to, you know, build more buildings, keep himself in the game a little bit longer. A fresh MCV, a fresh start. Okay, if Drive comes back from this point, I might just award him first place. Like, I don't even care about the finals. I'm just giving Drive first place. But, I mean, there's no way. Haha, right? There's no way for Drive. He's gonna try, but, I mean, the money's up here. He's going back to his main base. Actually, crossing the map and taking Green Zero's main base, especially if he picked up that tib spike, would be a pretty good strat. It looks like a refinery is going to get placed at the main base of Drive. Green Zero, one thing can be said in Drive's favor is Green Zero has a very slow army. So with the Marv being the anchor point, Drive keeps winning just these little rifleman battles just by barely anything at all. And the Hammerheads should be able to deal with that lone rifleman. Sonic Emitter is here, and this attack should get pushed back, maybe just by the Sonic Emitter, honestly. But actually, no, the Tier 3 gets sold off, and an EMP is ready to fire. Green Zero gets into lockdown on 4 Predator tanks of Drive, and that Sonic Emitter with those APCs is going to be able to deal with the forces of Drive. Drive drops the refinery, trying to get some semblance of economy back online. Green Zero has, okay, he's Marvisting Drive's field. At least he is doing something useful. And GG gets called. Drive has been defeated. Man, when that MCV came out, I was like, well, anything can happen, right? But Green Zero evens up the score. This is much more what I was expecting to see. That first game, it felt a little bit like Drive slapping Green Zero around. But here, Green Zero striking back and showing that he is not going down without a fight. Let's see what happens in game number 3, which takes us to Tournament Odyssey. Perhaps only the second time I've seen this map in this tournament. As the Cyan GDI in the north, it's Green Zero. He's managed to even up the score and I think get a bit of momentum away from Drive. That game number 1 was a bit lopsided, but that game number 2, he was much more in control. Meanwhile, on the south side of the map, also playing GDI, the green, this is Drive. Double tib spike right out of the gate, nice and safe to secure. I do like that there are a couple of maps that have 2 tib spikes that each player gets. It's just one of those things, you know, Tib Rift has, Tournament Rift has those 4 tib spikes. And actually, Green Zero going for a pretty decent anti-scout here. Really wants to deny the right down the middle kind of scout. And it looks like Drive is hoping to draw Green Zero's forces into a bit of a foxhole battle. So Drive is going to engage right there, but no, Green Zero does not go up the ramp. And Drive actually got 2 engineers, not 3, it looks like. Wait, no, he did. He got the tib spike right there at the last second. And Drive actually gets a defensive turret as well, which is sort of not how I was expecting this game to go. I mean, the defensive towers are nice, but I wasn't expecting someone to get it right from the jump. Green Zero continues with the scouting pattern. And it looks like Green Zero wins that battle maybe just by a little bit. Maybe it's maybe they just shoot each other and they agree to barely. Drive, I think, won that, but of course Green Zero's additional scout came in to finish off Drive. A little bit of a walk to the expansion, nice and short on Tournament Odyssey. And we actually haven't seen Highlands, and now I'm kind of sad. I did choose the starting map, so I basically just use this as an excuse to choose maps that I liked, but also maps that I think usually provide good games. And I did want to avoid Odyssey and Highlands, because I thought those would be go-to picks for maps like 2 and 3 of a series. But, you know, we actually haven't seen Highlands, which I like seeing a bit of variety, but I also like Highlands and Odyssey as maps to see them at least every once in a while. Green Zero and Drive opening up very similarly, at least, to that previous game on Tournament Undergrounds, but we'll see if things look a little bit more normal, which is what I would expect from a map like Odyssey. Well, the pressure is here. Green Zero, he transferred his harvesters nice and early, but the pressure is kind of making that annoying because actually, no, one of these harvesters is going to go down. I thought it was just going to be pulled, and Drive wasn't actually going to get a kill, but he does. He gets the kill on one harvester of Green Zero, and I think that harvester was full of Tiberium, so Green Zero completely misses out on that, and it looks like this power plant is going to take a bit of damage. Kind of annoying that Green Zero is going to have to repair that. These harvesters are... Oh, no, he selected all! Oh my gosh, so that is a lot of lost mining time unintentionally. I thought they were all transferring to the natural. I was like, wow, he really wants to make his main base last way longer, but that was an unfortunate misclick, and that's one of those things where Drive, he got some lucky splash damage on game number 1, which made his attacks even more devastating. They were going to be bad, but they were even worse because of that lucky splash damage. And here, that little attack, which got one harvester, also got like a Tiberium load worth of lost mining time. So Drive is now probably up by like 3 grand overall in the course of this game by just a couple of minutes. And part of that is not even his fault. He has gotten both defensive towers, which... Sometimes the defensive towers are not engaged with until you can quickly clean them up, you know, like hammerheads with rocket troopers in them or something. Just quickly kill them. And a little bit of low power mode for Green Zero. And it looks like he's finally going to be breaking these foxholes of Drive. So Drive going for the annoying, put a bunch of foxholes all over the place. And Green Zero is eventually going to be kicking him out of his house. He's like, hey, get out of here. No one wants to see you here. Drive with a couple of pit bulls. He's poking by Green Zero's base. He's not going to get anything. I mean, Green Zero's got good pitbull numbers and reinforcements and repairs. And he might try and dive on these harvesters. They're stacked up. No. He goes for the pitbull trade. That's not really... Oh, he's trying to bait him. Green Zero getting a little bit baited into that defensive tower because it does one-shot pit bulls. And that is actually a situation where pit bulls, especially without the mortar upgrade, can be easily defeated by that defensive tower, especially if you have any additional units at all. Drive starting to put on the aggression. He's got just like a couple of random APCs and Predator tanks heading over to the main base. He's looking to put on a bit of pressure. He's just trying to make Green Zero crack as his pit bulls coming in over from the natural expansion are now going to be joining with this small attacking force, but once again the splash damage on these harvesters is just doing double duty with those pit bulls. Sonic Emitter is here, and well, rather a Sonic Shatterer is here to get a bit of damage as these couple of random rocket squads, but no, Orca's coming in. Drive just absolutely destroying the economy of Green Zero's main base. All 4 Orcas do manage to escape, and this harvester is barely gonna go down. No, it gets out of range of that last pit bull, and the rocket squad doesn't see its opportunity. Green Zero's harvester barely survives, but the MCV is here at the natural, and Green Zero hasn't realized it as a Sonic Emitter gets deployed right in range of that war factory. Green Zero has got some big problems as a second Sonic gets deployed before the first one has even been destroyed. And no, the building block from Green Zero wreaking havoc upon that Shatterer's AI. 2 additional Sonic emitters and a refinery. Drive says, get out of my game. I own this space. And he's literally going to be harvesting from Green Zero's building, Green Zero's Tiberium field. Is he base crawling with an armory as well? I cannot believe what Drive is doing. Drive taking complete control of this game on the other side of the map, going to be losing a harvester or two, but he drops his own sonic emitter in defense, and it looks like these 2 Shatterers may be going down to the sonic emitter of Drive. Green Zero's entire base is just destroyed. The MCV has packed up and has left the building. Green Zero's economy must be completely kaput at this point. A Juggernaut emerges? Are you kidding me? Where is this game going? Green Zero unpacks his MCV and he's hoping to keep his hopes alive with this Juggernaut. Defensive towers still standing strong. Drive, it looks like, is just sort of Q-moving his entire army across the map, and Drive is making his 3rd base. Green Zero's natural. The Juggernaut gets sniped by a sonic emitter, and Green Zero is defending with watchtowers. The 2nd Juggernaut emerges, but the GG gets called, and Green Zero drops game number 3 against relentless aggression from Drive. The first 4 or 5 minutes looking normal, looking nice, and then Drive hits the gas and completely ran over Green Zero. Drive, this is a best of 5, has put himself into the match point position. There are no more mistakes left for Green Zero. He has to play perfectly in the next 2 games to advance to the finals. Otherwise, it'll be Drive entering the finals. Which takes us to the pleasant small town of Sick City, the sickest city in the USA. It's much like the small town of the USA. It looks nothing like the name implies. In the north as the red, this is Green Zero. You know, if he's not playing green, it's got to be Green Zero. In the south as the green GDI, this is Drive. Relatively small map, and this is kind of a mix of old and new school styles. A lot of the original maps that come with the game, they have this 2-field setup. Maybe there's a 3rd field that's sort of contested directly in between, and then a lot of the community maps have 2 Tiberium spikes per player, and a bit of blue Tiberium that's slow growing and starts out empty. And so this map kind of feels like a mix of new school and old school map preferences and techniques and, you know, things that people would do when they were designing maps originally for competitive play, and things that people do now when they design maps, you know, a couple of years later. A lot of the community made maps. This feels like a marriage of the 2 styles. Drive with now a confident 2-1 lead. He's not in a place where he can just run away with this series, like where he can just, you know, screw around and he doesn't have to play his best. He still needs to absolutely bring his best to the table, or Green Zero will come back, win this series, and go to the finals. But Drive is looking sharp. He is looking ferocious to head into the finals against either Bike Rush or DuneTiger. We get to see a second best of 5 and then follow it all up with a finals best of 7 to round out the day, to round out the Christmas Comes Late tournament. And the action, you know, the quarterfinals, they were a bit maybe turtly, some of those games. But the explosive action in the semifinals is definitely making up for it. Watchtower gets placed down. Green Zero is going to be dislodged from the base of Drive. Those early scouts, always so nice just to keep an eye on your opponent, but honestly, it feels like the early mid-game scout around this time is much more important. Like, does the refinery actually get placed down at the expansion? Because with Green Zero it is, And in the last Green Zero game, the exact same thing happened. But look at this. The watchtower is already out front. The APC is nearby. The mines aren't placed, and there's no rockets inside of that APC, but still, it does have that kind of potential. Another watchtower gets deployed. One volley of rockets off at that harvester, and actually Drive is going to swing around to the north side where there isn't any defense. I assume another watchtower is going to get deployed. Drive is going to get a little bit of free damage here. I don't think these pit bulls will actually get any kills. No, Green Zero pulls that harvester off the line, and Drive is going to try and circle around back and see if there are any more weak points that he can try and exploit. The pit bulls looking to just escape from this area or maybe swing back around to the natural expansion. Rocket squads are here. Drive actually splits his pit bulls, sends one off to the north and one off to the south, and both are actually going to escape. Green Zero unable to close the distance on those pits with his couple of rocket squads and kill them off. Drive, it looks like a little bit, he deployed a bit earlier on the bottom of the ramp and not at the top of the slope, which means his refineries are a bit less carefully placed, and as a result, his economy is going to be a little bit weaker at the natural expansion. But he got up those 2 refineries nice and quick, and now the pain is coming. Green Zero's got a ton of APCs. The AP ammo isn't done, and it doesn't look like they have anything inside of them. I'm not... are they supposed to pick up these Oh, they must be trying to pick up these rocket squads, which have been sent out earlier in this game, because this is just a bunch of unupgraded APCs, which is not super good at killing stuff. Drive has watchtowers? Okay, Green Zero turns to the south. The APC's targeting down this power plant, and they're going to be able to take that down pretty quickly. That might send Drive into a low power mode with all of these watchtowers that Drive is deploying. Green Zero drops mines. Drive does not walk into them as he turns to the side. And for the current moment, Drive playing his defense pretty tight. He's got his AP ammo now, and Green Zero's just finished as well moments before Drive. Orca Strike comes in, going to be crossing the map and going for the harvesters on the other side. Looks like it won't tag any of them, but it does get the refinery. A nice chunk of health out of that refinery. Hammerhead's taking a couple of shots from those rocket squads. Drive tagging these harvesters at the northern Blue Tiberium field just a little bit. Sonics are here for Drive. He's starting to clear out the middle of the map, and Green Zero's big APC numbers, I assume he's going to start garrisoning them up with rocket squads. For now, he's got a bit of a force from Drive to deal with. Drive doesn't have a lot of strength to attack a base. I'm not sure if he walks into the base of Green Zero, if that's really going to work out for him. He might be able to find an angle in around the side. Drive stealing some of Green Zero's Tiberium, and Harvester's actually getting sniped. Hammerhead's managing to kill off a Harvester as it transfers back and is looking to go over to the natural expansion. The AA turret gets spawned in, and Drive is going to be losing some of these Hammerheads. No, they all survive with barely any health, and he's actually going to get the kill on the airfield of Green Zero. Resets the production, resets that account of Green Zero, and Drive now looking for more damage, but he's just trading these Hammerheads, losing them one at a time. Juggernaut is here. Hammerheads from Green Zero striking back. It looks like he may have gotten a Harvester. At least he got a Watchtower, and he's going to get that Firehawk on the deck. No, barely. It gets out into the sky. The AA battery gets deployed, and the splash damage once again helping Drive to clear out the air forces of Green Zero. Green Zero with his tournament life on the line drives up the hill, and he's going to meet these Harvesters in battle. An AA battery on the front line. Drive trying to body block with these buildings and cut off this army, getting some shots in with his Juggernauts and his Sonics as Green Zero retreats down the back, having not found the Harvester kills that he wanted, that he needed. Back in the north, Drive is actually trying to cut off the attack path, and he might be able to do it. The Orca Strike coming in moments before the Harvester. No, the bridge survives! The Harvester can escape, and Green Zero, on the other hand, is going to clean up the bridge, even with the help of Drive. and it looks like Green Zero has been cut off. His army is caught in the corner of a map. The Marv is not ready. It's about 70% of the way done, and Drive coming in here snipes one engineer, and the MCV move is here once again. The Juggernauts sliding forward. They've got their roller skates on. They are ready to dance, and it looks like this bridge may actually be complete, and it may actually allow Green Zero to escape. AA battery gets deployed. It's Juggernauts versus Juggernauts. The EMPs could seal the deal for either side as Drive loses a hammerhead there, right on the edge of range. Green Zero with his Marv powered up and ready to go. Okay, no, it looks like the bridge segment does need to be repaired. I thought I saw that harvester coming back to the island, but Green Zero needs to get an engineer over there immediately, but he just doesn't have the space, or he doesn't have the free capacity to build an additional barracks, build an engineer, and walk it over there. The MCV of Drive getting targeted down. Here comes the Shockwave Artillery. It's going to lock down the MCV, the Marv rather, of Green Zero. Drive moves in, unupgraded Predator tanks, but it's all about the Jugs. The Marv goes down. The MCV of Drive gets eliminated, but the Juggernauts of Green Zero are now under threat. Orbital bombardment raining down, and Drive coming in here with a couple of unupgraded units is just barely having enough power in his Juggernauts to lay waste to the forces of Green Zero. Drive with a messy attack, killing his own APC, will barely be able to break the front line of Drive. The reinforcements coming in for Green Zero and trying to hold the line against the forces of Drive. The Husks getting sniped. Drive not letting anything go to waste as the last Juggernaut spawns in for Green Zero. He fought well, but it's all coming crashing down. If he can't stop these Juggernauts, he's got no way to stop Drive. Sonic emitters are here. The Juggernauts of Drive are forced back. Is Green Zero doing it? No, that's just a hammerhead over there. His forces come back around. Green Zero repairing the bridge, and he's gonna bring the pain to Drive's expansion. Green Zero with the APC Predator tank army that got trapped in the corner of the map has found the value that he was looking for earlier in this game. One refinery down, and now the Zone Troopers coming here for Drive to help finish off this army. The hammerheads pounding away at those tanks, and Green Zero has bought himself a brief respite from the battle with this little attack. Snipes one of the refineries, and Drive is here to finally crush that attack, but Green Zero has bought himself so much time. He has gotten himself the space that he needed to try and come up with enough units to kill off Drive. They both used their Shockwave Artillery. I'm not even sure if they kept around their Space Command uplinks or not. A fully heroic APC with a Zone Trooper inside of it from Drive. This is his Harvester killing force for late in the game, and it's actually going to be working. The Zone Trooper is going to be protected and going to be able to kill off 2 Harvesters. Orca Strike coming in, Hammerhead as well, but it's just one single Hammerhead from Green Zero. The rest of them are actually from Drive, and this refinery getting targeted down. Harvesters in the corner of the map, just absolutely insane. This game going every single direction, and it's still not over. Drive has a bunch more Tiberium still to harvest, but Green Zero finally is going to get the kill on Drive's heroic APC. The Juggernaut helping out there, and that Zone Trooper squad going down. Both of them have had a good long rest. Harvesters getting sniped in the bottom left. Green Zero with 3 Harvesters going down. He doesn't need a ton of Harvesters, so these guys going down doesn't directly hurt him, but the Tiberium inside of them is precious. Green Zero comes in here. He almost gets the snipe on the MCV. Once again, the MCV going down, and Drive steps forward. He's looking to end this game, but Green Zero looking to keep his tournament life alive for just one more match. The hope of the Ace stands before him. The Preds and the APCs closing the distance. A couple of final shots from Drive's Juggernauts, crushing the army of Green Zero. The Hammerheads killing the ground armies of both. And at the end of it, I don't even know who stands to win anything. All of the Husks on the Green Zero side get sniped. That's basically the only difference between these guys. Drive's Husks still remain, and Drive, who I don't know how he has gotten this much of an army and been this much of a fight for Green Zero, considering how much Tiberium he still has not harvested from his natural. Finally, the Husks get sniped. Green Zero's Firehawks or Hammerheads are unchecked, and he's now going to be sniping the power plants. Drive literally can't stop this kill. Pitbull's coming in. Bloodhounds, this is the one chance for Drive to stop the forces of Green Zero. He's got the Hammerheads, he's got the APCs, and the Predator Pitbulls on the ground, respawning more and more APCs, and it looks like the last Hammerhead falls as Green Zero's forces get pushed back. Finally, Drive manages to break the air superiority of Green Zero. 4 Predator tanks aren't going to be enough to kill this base. The Zone Troopers get sniped right as they spawn in. Drive just barely still in this game, but Green Zero equally close to falling off the cliff. Drive looking for the opportunity. 2 power plants completely exposed here, and this could gut the production of Green Zero. Green Zero hanging on. He came within inches of killing Drive here in game number 4, and it's just barely not gonna work. Drive killing that power plant, killing this war factory, cuts off the options of Green Zero even more. Green Zero still has got the MCV. This is not a... Oh, he's got the command post, so he can build an air... He can build... Well, there isn't really anything here left to defend. Green Zero needs one more attack. He was so close. Hammerheads coming in for Green Zero. The APCs have been rebuilt. A more than adequate defense against these Hammerheads in times of need. They're both circling each other's base with 3 Hammerheads looking for openings, looking for opportunities. Green Zero has a couple of AA batteries, but Drive has found absolutely everything that is on the edge. An AA battery in the north placed after everything had already been destroyed. Drive's APCs might be the cavalry coming in to save him from this game. Green Zero targeting down harvesters, targeting down the economy of Drive. A sonic emitter gets deployed right in the middle of all of these APCs. Drive trying to split away from the beams of the sonic emitter, but no, it goes down. The Hammerheads survive for a moment longer, but the APCs overwhelming Predator tanks and killing the AA batteries. The GG gets called. Green Zero drops from the Christmas Comes Late tournament in the semifinals. A top 4 finish and some fantastic games from him, but ultimately it will be Drive heading into the finals. What a series that turned into. Action-packed and explosive pretty much from start to finish. I thought Green Zero made the comeback there, but Drive would not die, and Green Zero was just a couple of units short of running away with that game. Drive at a huge economic disadvantage during part of that game, tens and tens of thousands of credits different, but in the end, he pretty much caught up and equalized himself with Green Zero. That will do it for our first semifinal. On the bottom half of the bracket, we have the second semifinal to see who will meet Drive in the finals. Which brings us back to Mountain Pass for game number 1 of the second semifinals, featuring in the north as the red GDI, BikeRushOwnz. And in the south as the orange, playing Reaper 17, this is DuneTiger. DuneTiger coming in, crashing and burning from the quarterfinals against Senna. A best of 5 that went to the limit. BikeRushOwnz coming in a bit more cleanly. He did have to defeat Futurama in the round of 16, but that was only a best of 3. And Futurama is one of those guys that BikeRushOwnz may have a winning map score against, but Futurama can still take tournament series from BikeRushOwnz. DuneTiger, on the other hand, like a lot of these guys, it feels like he needs something specific. He needs some kind of like sniper build prepared, because if you just try and play a regular thing, you know, maybe he can make it happen with Traveler 59, but BikeRushOwnz playing GDI, such a strong central faction, and just, you know, something that BikeRushOwnz is probably going to have a lot more experience with than DuneTiger. Feels like BikeRushOwnz, the longer the game goes on, the more uncomfortable DuneTiger is going to be, and the more comfortable, potentially, BikeRushOwnz is going to be. We're back on Mountain Pass. I do like to see games on this map, and it seems like these two guys going for pretty much just the same sort of thing. I think these rocks and edges can cause some problems with your MCV, so do take caution when you're moving towards your natural expansion, but it looks like everything has gone pretty normal. BikeRushOwnz going for the sort of early game scout. I think he might be trying to... Oh, he is trying to sneak in another rifleman squad. So he does kind of see there's a couple of seeker tanks heading his way. Looks like through the middle of the map. They do cut off to the north, so they're not going directly to BikeRush's base. And another seeker tank over at the natural expansion is going to see that nothing is up and running just yet. Moments away on those natural expansions, and it looks like BikeRushOwnz, yeah, he had a harvester heading out in a weird direction a couple of moments ago. And it is over to the blue Tiberium, so BikeRushOwnz going to be stealing some of that blue Tiberium as natural expansions do get established. Couple of seekers here. They're here to chase away this harvester. It looks like BikeRushOwnz, 2 pit bulls and an APC. Going to go ahead and retreat away. Does lose a pit bull for a seeker. The attack's kind of coming out somewhat evenly there. 1 pit bull, 1 seeker tank. No gunwalkers, though, for DuneTiger. And it looks like DuneTiger, he's going to be getting his nerve center up and running right away. He gets that Ichor seed called down. Extends the life of his main base by a good bit. One of those things where, like, the nerve center has some pretty killer support powers for the Scrin player. War Factory gets deployed right there in the face of these pit bulls, and it looks like BikeRushOwnz is going to back off, but he does see, he sees at least the War Factory. He may not have actually seen the nerve center, the vision there. And no force fields being upgraded just yet. No second refinery on the natural expansion. So BikeRushOwnz sees that it is a second War Factory first. It's not a big eco game from DuneTiger. BikeRush, on the other hand, getting up his 2 refineries at his expansion much more quickly and then going for the command post. AP ammo does not start immediately, so we'll see how that works out. BikeRushOwnz drops the barracks. He's seen this kind of attack coming, and it looks like he did have control of a building as well. So we saw this good and well from a good bit before. Looks like BikeRushOwnz also going to be harassing that harvester with his own harvester and then chasing it away with the pit bulls. And BikeRushOwnz may actually get the kill on DuneTiger's blue Tiberium harvester in the south while defending in the middle of the map. Let's see, it's 3 watchtowers versus these charged up dev tanks. APCs are also here and ready to go. The harvester dies in the south, and it looks like 2 dev tanks might actually be going down here, and the APCs rush to the top to finish it off. The buzzer hive has been deployed as well, and it looks like 2 APCs. No, 1 APC. That APC is still alive. Traded out for 2 dev tanks. A gunwalker as well falling into the ground. And BikeRushOwnz with a good start to this defense, but the AP ammo still not done. It looks like it's moments away from finishing. right there. It gets added on, and BikeRushOwnz is now in a better place to lock this down. Fully heroic rocket squad in there somewhere. Dev tanks eat up one APC, but a sonic emitter gets deployed right on the front lines. That's a photon cannon gets added on at the worst time, and DuneTiger goes into low power mode. This high aggression play, and he just does not have any power. 2 secret tanks, but the descents get absolutely shredded by the hammerhead, by the APC, and now this attack from DuneTiger is going to be a complete miss. It looks like the Orca Strike did come in. Maybe it tagged the MCV there as we saw it exiting. It looks like the Stasis Chamber also getting added on, and that Sonic Emitter taking a shot at the drone ship. Bloodhounds getting added on. If only they had been a couple of feet further forward, they might have gotten some shots on that mothership. Bunch of dev tanks are here. The Sonic Emitter is out of range, but the Shatterer is here to do that splash damage. Stasis Chamber shield locks down the MCV and a Juggernaut, but it looks like the forces on the ground may be enough to conquer DuneTiger. Gunwalkers will get targeted down, and the forces on the ground from BikeRushOwnz, even with the stasis locking down his jugs, are enough to crush DuneTiger. 2 more dev tanks getting added on. The economy of BikeRushOwnz powering his attack up the hill. The GG gets called, and DuneTiger has been defeated. The expected outcome, but you gotta hand it to DuneTiger coming out with the aggression and not just playing a regular game, which is going to be favoring BikeRushOwnz sort of the longer it goes on. Definitely one of those things that I hope DuneTiger was prepping and practicing for, some of those more aggressive builds, but I don't know if he was really counting on getting to the semifinals against BikeRushOwnz. But let's see what happens in game number 2, which takes us to the map Ruthless Serato. Some of you will have no idea what this map is. Others of you will be like, that reminds me of something from long, long ago. A memory that I've long since forgot of a map called Deadly Serato. In the northern position as the Orange Steel Talons, this is DuneTiger. Game number 2, let's see if he is able to pull something out. But on the south side of the map, as the red GDI, this is BikeRushOwnz. Ruthless Serato is not a map I have ever seen, and to be fair, I have never seen a competitive match on the map Deadly Serato, the official variant of this. That was really interesting. I thought BikeRushOwnz was planning on garrisoning up that foxhole, but maybe he's just hoping that he can put the rocket troopers inside of it. I'm not sure what the purpose of that first foxhole actually was. The second foxhole is here to deal with that watchtower, and it looks like BikeRushOwnz is, well, he's going to start with some aggression. He is putting the pressure on immediately. Now, of course, this is one of those maps, as you can see, where the main and the natural are sort of all from the same MCV position. And then you have a third base, a third field, over what used to be across the river from Deadly Serato. And you can take your third over there. DuneTiger does reposition his MCV just a little bit. I think that's going to give him a better place to potentially drop some additional watchtowers or deal with this foxhole in the next couple of minutes. But other than that little aggression coming out very early on from BikeRushOwnz, things are progressing a little bit more normally. DuneTiger, we'll see. Does the Steel Talons hinder him, or is it something he is able to play to the strengths of? The random can be very punishing, and Steel Talons versus GDI feels like it's going to be one of those situations that's very punishing. Because you've got Mammoth tanks, you've got Titans, you've got Railguns, Behemoths, you still have an option where this can play out very similarly to a traditional GDI versus GDI kind of matchup. And DuneTiger can definitely pull something out here to knock BikeRush back on his... I don't know, I was going to say knock him back on his feet, but that actually doesn't make sense. He's going to knock BikeRush off of his feet and take a point in this series. Watchtower finally breaks down that foxhole, DuneTiger gets his expansion refinery up and running, and it looks like this foxhole from DuneTiger and BikeRush's base continues to be annoying. Looks like it's just one Tiberium spike, no additional structures, I don't think, on this map as far as extra Tib spikes, mutant hovels, EMP control centers, or even defensive turrets, nothing like that. DuneTiger may go ahead and garrison up that rifleman squad there in the middle of the map, so he's got a bit of a cue on when anyone starts to move through the center. BikeRushOwnz going to try and garrison up his own foxhole. It's barely not going to work as DuneTiger secures the vision on the middle of the map. First Titan going to be going ahead and patrolling through the right side of the map for DuneTiger. And both of these guys starting out quite calmly, but BikeRushOwnz is ready to put on the pressure as his orcas are constructing. No command post, it looks like. No, there is a command post and an equal orca strike coming from the other side as DuneTiger. He is just exactly on point with the number of orcas that he needs. So both of these guys hopefully are starting to queue up some AA batteries. Orca strike and orcas both coming across the map. Couple of pit bulls here. There's the scan from DuneTiger. And what is BikeRush going to do? Well, he's going to get some lucky splash damage. No, barely. The splash damage does miss. These are heavy harvesters, so I think they take a couple of extra rockets to deal with from the orcas. Harvesters coming in. Looks like one harvester already going down, but the Titan is here to finish the job. The AA batteries may do well against the orcas, but they do nothing against the Titans. Two Titans here. They're actually shooting the AA battery, which might be a bit of a mistake there, as two harvesters at least have gone down, it looks like, on each side. One Titan getting eliminated as the pit bulls get some extra shots there right at the end. And DuneTiger, he is expanding sort of towards BikeRushOwnz. BikeRushOwnz is taking the back door field as his expansion. Orca's coming back out for BikeRushOwnz. It looks like the Orca strike is going to miss, but this is 3 AA batteries here to deal with these Orcas. One harvester goes down. The refinery took a bit of damage, and it looks like every single Orca will go down. BikeRushOwnz keeping the airfield around, at least for the current moment, for the Hammerheads. Pitbulls patrolling near the front of that field, and it looks like one, I'm not sure what that was. That must have been a refinery getting sold off there by DuneTiger. A little bit of a fight over that Tib spike. It does look like the Tib spike of DuneTiger got sniped. Not so much on the side of BikeRushOwnz. He's still got his Tib spike under his control. Pitbulls push forward. They're going to be able to catch one of the orcas, clip its wings, and send it down. DuneTiger, a little bit awkward here, taking a couple of strikes from these forces of BikeRushOwnz. And BikeRushOwnz, it looks like he's starting to rebuild maybe Firehawks instead of orcas. I'm not sure what his plan is here. Second airfield gets deployed on the DuneTiger side of the map. He's also got his Tier 3 ready to go, and he is expanding down to the south to get himself a third base. One Firehawk, one Orca, and two Hammerheads. It looks like BikeRush is going to have one of everything. DuneTiger moves to the south. Orca Strike comes in, catches the Harvester of BikeRush. Great for DuneTiger. And BikeRushOwnz a little bit slower on the third base expansion, but he's going for his Marv first. He's going for the Juggernauts a bit sooner, and it looks like he's got eyes on DuneTiger's base as well. Pitbulls coming in with these Orcas as well. Two Harvesters going down. A third gets eliminated, and the Firehawks are here to clear the skies. The Titans here to clear the Pitbulls, but not before four Harvesters of DuneTiger goes down. And the BikeRushOwnz defense is just a little bit better, it seems, and I feel like that is kind of based on the fact that DuneTiger took the front Tiberium field first, or excuse me, took the back Tiberium field first, and BikeRushOwnz took the front Tiberium field first. And most of the harassment for both players has been on that front, that middle Tiberium field from each guy. They're both kind of having the same... Ooh, Firehawks get off the deck. They're both kind of having the same idea, but the execution from BikeRushOwnz has been better from the beginning. Firehawks come off into the air, and it looks like it's going to be triple Zone Trooper inside of this Marv. And, well, if it's a Marv on the other side, I think it's just going to be a Super Tank Marv from our Steel Talons player. But this is an unfair fight. We have got a GDI player with Juggernauts with a Marv, and it's going to be the Orcas providing that artillery opportunity for our Steel Talons player, but the Orcas get sniped, and 3-4 Juggernauts do survive. Firehawks trading blows with each other, but DuneTiger has basically nothing to stop this much firepower. If he had some EMPs, maybe the Titans over time could wear down that Marv, but that would be a lot of EMPs, and the Juggernauts are here. The infantry are here to support. BikeRushOwnz is literally just going to Marvist this field out from under DuneTiger, and at the same time, up in the north, a little bit of Tiberium damage on that infantry. BikeRushOwnz is non-stop. The first behemoth is out, but the MCV is about to fall, and these Titans are no match for this Marv. The infantry coming in to assist. DuneTiger has been defeated. The GG gets called as BikeRush takes his own third base in the north. BikeRushOwnz with a pretty clean 2-0 start to this series. And as always, a reverse sweep is difficult, but a reverse sweep against someone who's playing on the level that BikeRush is even more difficult. Still hope that DuneTiger will start striking back and take us to that ace match, but let's go Dune in game number 3, which takes us to Purification Point, another map that I have never seen, for another GDI mirror on the left side as the orange GDI. This is DuneTiger. He needs your cheers. He needs your support. Meanwhile, on the right side, playing like he's on fire, this is BikeRushOwnz. Purification Point. It's a east-west kind of setup, and then, hey, look at this. Just like Tournament Airstrip, we've got this lovely contested field. I'm just kind of realizing it has some similar features to Tournament Airstrip, but ultimately, it is quite a different looking map. One tib spike at least, and then a whole bunch of buildings, and as we saw at the beginning, an EMP control center. So let's see how this one goes. It feels like this is a good map to force some engagements and to... Ooh, airfield rush right out of the gate from DuneTiger. Okay, so let's see... okay. Is that just this map? What is going on that these two guys are doing the exact same build, almost down to the second between the two of them? And, well, it's going to be Orcas, and I guess it's going to be Orcas over here, and I guess DuneTiger's Orcas are just slightly further behind? War Factory, oh, it's barracks instead of a War Factory. Whoa, that's interesting. BikeRushOwnz going rocket squads. It does, oh, it's an MCV cell! He is going full MCV cell mode, something we have not seen in a competitive game in a long time. Calls in for the transport as well. Is he going for the EMP control center, or is he going to try and sneak along the southern edge of the map and find an angle in to BikeRush's base? The Orcas are on their way over, and DuneTiger definitely knows what's coming his way as of now. BikeRushOwnz, on the other hand, is going to see exactly what is coming his way, and there are so few harvesters for both players. Both harvesters are going to be going down, it looks like, for DuneTiger, and BikeRushOwnz is going to have to pull out some magic on the other side of the map, but he has got more than a couple of seconds to worry about that. Looks like second refinery is on the way. Both harvesters going down. And here's the first volley of rockets. DuneTiger taking a lot of splash damage. Not a lot, but a little bit of splash damage on one of those Orcas. Good rotation by DuneTiger to move the Orcas as they take a bit of damage so that they get those maximum shots. And DuneTiger just needs to get some kills on these Orcas. Oh, that Orca redirecting as one of the Orcas from BikeRush takes off. And it looks like DuneTiger is going to try and escape with his own last Orca. The Ox transport going down or deploying at some point already. I lost sight of that engineer, and I'm not sure where he ended up for DuneTiger. DuneTiger going for the full scout of BikeRushOwnz, takes a shot at the power plant. It'll cost him his life. DuneTiger sells the airfield. He's got one harvester, one pitbull, and BikeRushOwnz sells his own MCV as he drops his War Factory. 0 harvesters out on the field for BikeRushOwnz, but he's got a nice little cash boost there, and of course, that tib spike. The harvester survives, the pitbull does not. BikeRushOwnz with no harvesters against the one harvester of DuneTiger, and now BikeRushOwnz with one Harvester out on the field, but he's got the Orcas, and Orcas can cross the map so much more quickly than anything that DuneTiger has. The Engineer heads up to the north, and I'm not sure where BikeRush is going with that Engineer, but it almost doesn't matter. DuneTiger needs an absolute miracle to pull out a game that we have never seen the likes of before in Kane's Wrath. Here come the Orcas to seal the deal, to send BikeRush into the finals for a rematch versus Drive. How many times have these guys met in the semis or the finals of tournaments? It feels like every time it's becoming a bit of a joke. Futurama gets knocked out by BikeRush sometime early in the tournament on the BikeRush side of the bracket, and then BikeRush meets Dune in the finals. One Pitbull goes down, but one Orca gets eliminated as well, and for now, the Harvester is completely safe, but the economy of BikeRush is now doubling that of DuneTiger. APC is going to pick up his Engineer buddy, and as long as both players have a War Factory, the power plant... DuneTiger lost his power plant. He is completely flatlined as far as production goes. He managed to get up one foxhole. Literally the only thing that he possibly could have done in this moment is get up that one foxhole, those two foxholes, and BikeRushOwnz with this upgraded power plant, it has all of the choices in the world, and DuneTiger is going to be struggling to get out literally everything. The fact that DuneTiger lost that power plant lost him the game. It's a waiting game at this point, but no, it's not even that. DuneTiger literally couldn't produce anything with any kind of speed with that one War Factory, that doubled production time, and that single Harvester worth of income. Just a dead man waiting. And that will do it for the semifinals. BikeRushOwnz versus Drive. Of course, DuneTiger and Green Zero both collect a $50 prize from having made it to the top 4, so congratulations to them. No small feat to make it to the top 4 and give those series play those series like they did, but it's going to be BikeRushOwnz versus Drive in the finals. Which takes us to Tournament Airstrip for the Christmas Comes Late finals. It's all down to this last best of 7. As the red screen on the left side, this is BikeRushOwnz. And coming from the other side of the bracket, the green GDI. Give it up for Drive. Drive versus BikeRushOwnz in a best of 7. With how the semifinals shaped up, honestly, it was like, all right, there's definitely a couple of different ways that this could go. And Drive versus BikeRushOwnz feels like it is a classic finals matchup that we've seen a number of times before. A shot at redemption for Drive, but he has knocked BikeRush out in a tournament and maybe even in a tournament finals before. So if someone has the chops to take down BikeRushOwnz, Drive just might be the guy. But he is going to have to be on point for the entirety of this best of 7. BikeRushOwnz starting out with a couple of descents in the north. These are nice slow descents, not at all the fast legs of Traveler. Descents coming in from the north. Drive gets sight of this. He's going to be pulling both of his Harvesters. He sneaks them in between the refinery and the War Factory. Perfect hold here by Drive. A little bit of a crush there, but that's totally fine. These descents are done for. Drive dusts the attack and holds the first bit of aggression from BikeRushOwnz. BikeRushOwnz goes immediately for the blue Tiberium in the middle of the map. Just Riflemen to hold off that aggression, and now they transition into a wide scouting pattern, spreading out throughout the map. BikeRushOwnz, he's up to 4 Harvesters on his main field with these 2 refineries. He's not quite powered up his economy all the way, but he's getting that blue Tiberium, which is going to help extend out the life of his main green Tiberium field. It's definitely not efficient in this particular case with this blue Tiberium and with the length of time that it takes, but especially once he drops an Ichor seed, if he's taken a couple of loads of blue Tiberium from the middle, that's going to really extend out the life of his main Tiberium field. BikeRushOwnz crashing through the semis, 3-0 clean sweep. Drive having a bit more trouble, but ultimately coming through in a pretty dominating series against Green 0. They're both looking on point today, heading into this best of 7. And we'll see, how much it develops. Drive, he's been playing a lot of GDI, and if he sticks with GDI, it might look kind of similar from him all of the games. But BikeRushOwnz, is he going to go full crazy mode and just play a couple of random matches, or is he going to be selecting his faction as well? Rockets loaded up into these APCs. Drive is not staying on the back foot. He is keeping up the aggression. He's going to use this as a cover to also grab this Tiberium spike. So one way or the other, this will get some value for Drive. Foxhole deploys at the natural expansion of Bike Rush, and Drive gets a pretty good eye on exactly what Bike Rush has going on. BikeRushOwnz hasn't gone for the kind of mid-game scout, although he does have a buzzer in the north, so he is going to be going for that second pass through the base of Drive to see exactly what Drive has got going on. Drive deploys his MCV partway to the third base. First Seeker tank goes down. Drive is ready to fight. Gunwalker is here. The lightning spike used defensively. Not something you really want to be doing, is using that lightning spike defensively, but in this particular case, it makes sense. Drive gets pushed back. 5 APCs. Good rotation by Drive. His Tib spike is almost secured there in the middle of the map. Photon cannon is now here. The reinforcements from BikeRushOwnz should stop this from being too effective, this attack from Drive. But so far, Drive is just cutting off little bits of the army. He's going to try and rotate down to the south. He is not keeping up. He is not letting up on this aggression. He is keeping up the fight. The follow-up is going to be an airfield. The command post is down. AP ammo might be also on the way. And if that finishes, that's kind of an indicator to Bike Rush that Drive probably is prioritizing not his economy at his expansion. APCs pull all the way into the corner, and he is going to fight this one out to the bitter end. First 2 APCs going down, the Gunwalkers getting thinned out as well, but eventually these forces, I think, will be overwhelmed. The Descent's finally closing the distance. There's the AP ammo, and Drive was unable to bait any of these Gunwalkers into the mines. BikeRushOwnz steps forward. I may have spoken a little bit too soon, as BikeRushOwnz is going to be able to clear out that last Gunwalker. Storm Riders do give themselves away at the middle of the map. The tip spike has been spotted, and BikeRushOwnz Storm Riders are heading for, well, what actually is now the Firehawks of Drive. Drive cutting through the map with these Firehawks, and he's going to be able to take down at least some of these Storm Riders. Doesn't quite save his other Firehawk, and the first AA battery should be able to be deployed, and that might save this lone Firehawk, this one remaining Firehawk of Drive. AA missiles get added on. Gunwalkers are here. Drive's expansion under threat, and it looks like the Gunwalkers are going to chase away those Firehawks. Little Predator tank, Sonic Emitter Army going to be heading out to the natural expansion of BikeRushOwnz, but Drive, he's got himself a bit of an avatar, a bit of a tripod to deal with here, as he's going to be sniping the airfield of Drive. Watchtowers are here to try and hold off the Gunwalkers, but that Firehawk is useless. It cannot return to base until Bike Rush's forces are pushed back. Drive going on the attack when perhaps he should be defending. Predator tanks all get targeted down. The Sonics were not able to be very effective, and it looks like Drive is just getting pulled apart here in game number 1. Bloodhounds get called in. Drive perhaps with a little bit too much cash and not enough production. Just the one war factory this whole time. He's now up to Juggernauts. He's got the Marv on the way as well as he heads towards his third base. His shot at taking this first game and taking back control of this match is going to be resting on the shoulders of that Marv. Scan goes down in the main base, which is kind of curious. I think Drive maybe thought Bike Rush's tech was in the main base, and maybe he could Firehawk it, but he actually doesn't look like he has Firehawks. Double plasma missile battery are here. Triple gravity stabilizer, so the potential of a lot of Storm Riders here for BikeRushOwnz. 4 tripods on the front line, And there is going to be the audio cue for the Marv. BikeRushOwnz knows the situation that he's in, but Drive really needs to get this eco and his production up and going to be able to stand up against the forces of BikeRushOwnz. Gunwalkers in the south, one lone zone trooper, no additional forces inside of that Marv at the current moment. APCs in the north just sitting here. They're going to get cleaned up. Those are the Bloodhounds as well, as the tripods get their force field upgrade, and the Marv actually gets stasis. The MCV repositioning, but it's not quite soon enough. And where are the reinforcements? The Juggernaut's getting targeted down. These Storm Riders are here. The Firehawks doing what they can to keep them safe, but it's all about closing the distance to the Marv. It's all about the EMPs to lock down this Marv and to stop Drive from taking control of this game. Triple zone troopers. There's the EMP, as at the same time a crush coming out from Drive's Marv. 1, 2 tripods fall, a third gets annihilated. There's the phase just as the Marv leaves the ability of that. And actually the crush on that Husk going to be the follow-up by Drive. He's crushing a couple of these Husks. He really should take them if he can. Bike Rush has been pushed back. Those zone troopers coming through clutch right at the last moment. They've got themselves those health packs, and they are chasing back these Skrin forces. BikeRushOwnz confident that he could take that fight and could win the game right there. Never established his third base. He's only started to long distance mine. The blue Tiberium in the north has been forgotten, it looks like, by both players. Drive doesn't have any engineers inside of this Marv just yet, so it's still low health. Down there on about 50%, needs to get a couple of engineers in there quickly, and needs to get some repairs onto the front line so those tripods will be full health and ready to go. Zone troopers will be dealt with by Mass Buzzer, it looks like, as BikeRushOwnz panic responding with these buzzers. More rifle reinforcements and a couple of rockets coming in for Drive. He is ready to go. His Marv starting to get healed up, and it's going to be up to this assault from Drive to crush the front line of BikeRushOwnz. Drive has Marvisted most of his third field, so he does not want to fight out a war of attrition, and he has got a giant GDI army here ready to go. Juggernauts coming along. MCV packed up and ready to go as well. And it looks like this is just the primary MCV, so it's going to be a minute before the sonic emitters are there. A couple of zone troopers. The leading Storm Rider will get knocked down. The anti-air might be a little bit weak. The riflemen on the top, they've got a ton of buzzers to deal with, but the tripods aren't going to be matched. Back on the south, it's all about the descents crushing forward to get to the Marv. Drive gonna try and keep the Marv alive. The descents closing the distance, but the tripods at a great length. And this is it for BikeRushOwnz. He's gonna die here on his third base. Drive takes game number 1 as the GG gets called. And Drive closes it out. His massive GDI army just crushing forward. Gunwalkers and buzzers were no match for the GDI power play of Drive. Bike Rush leading the economy, but Drive winning that fight. That Marvist near the end, saving him and powering his late game production to win him game number 1 of the finals. Which takes us to Tournament Odyssey for game number 2. And spawning as the green GDI, currently up 1-0 in this series, this is Drive. And on the south side as the red marked of Kane, this is BikeRushOwnz. Gonna be looking to put a point on the board after that first game, clean up his game a little bit here, and actually, you know, put himself back on par score-wise with this guy here. Now, these two, they've played a ton of matches over the years, especially in the last couple of years, both in tournaments and in practice matches. I mean, in a good number of replays that I've been sent over the last couple of years, it's Bike Rush and Drive just like playing a whatever match. And it seems like Bike Rush maybe wins those, but certainly not enough that Drive can't close the series out, especially from this point. Drive is going to be familiar with BikeRushOwnz, and at this point, I don't know if BikeRush has any more surprises that he can really hit Drive with. It's sort of just Drive needs to, play smart, play the game, sort of play to his strengths, and BikeRushOwnz is going to get the win against these squads. Man, the Awakened squads are tough, but the fact that they're that tough, that was 3 Rifleman squads against, 1.5 Awakened squads, and the Awakened squads got dropped on, and yet they still won the engagement. That Rifleman squad gets cleaned up. BikeRushOwnz even gets the EMP on the MCV. Are you kidding me? And he gets the double EMP. Not a big deal in the scheme of things, but just enough of a delay, just enough of annoyance to potentially tilt Drive. Drive feeling good after game number 1, but that is going to be an annoying start to game number 2. BikeRushOwnz going to be looking to play to those EMP tactics, and he catches the MCV perfectly. Just a little bit of a disruption. Again, in the scheme of things, that individual moment shouldn't matter. That shouldn't be the one deciding factor, but, sometimes those little delays, they can be what decides a match. Bike goes down, Buggy is still here. Pitbull's going to be getting some chip damage done to them by these buggies, and eventually the Pitbulls will go down. Drive wants to clean up these bikes and get as many kills on those bikes as he can. APC mining the field of BikeRush. APC does get cleaned up, so Drive has bought himself enough time, and he's also seen that second war factory, so he knows that it's a war factory at the expansion, not directly into a refinery. The follow-up is going to be a refinery, and that's the thing that Drive won't know. He probably wishes he would have grabbed one of those defensive towers, just in case BikeRush runs over there, could have gotten a couple of extra shots. But at this point, Drive just wants to survive and hold on. He's got a watchtower queued, it looks like, and he's going to drop it as he tries to save this harvester. Pitbull's collapsing in on this buggy force, and Drive is going to chase it up the hill, and it looks like, for the most part, BikeRushOwnz is going to get away. 2 more buggies do go down, and they'll follow up for BikeRush. Ooh, it looks like that might have been a misrallied harvester, actually, coming back from a kind of a weird angle. But BikeRushOwnz getting his own economy at the natural, all solid up. Bit of a whiff on that EMP, but Drive saw the EMP coming and dodged it. Another sell and another dodge attempt at the EMP. Does catch one of the Pitbulls, so BikeRushOwnz is going to get a kill there, it looks like. Hand of Nod and Rocket Squad's directly onto the front line, and that Pitbull actually manages to escape. And this is about as good of an opening as Drive could have hoped for, considering that he got his MCV EMP'd. And this is a situation where Drive has bought enough time. He's deflected all of the BikeRush's attacks. He saw the fast war factory, so he knew exactly what was coming his way, and he's been able to hold it just well. And that one Awakened squad just barely going down to that full squad of Riflemen. Eventually, the Riflemen do get cleaned up. BikeRushOwnz, not one to like the scouts hanging out in his base. Couple of APCs in the north, cutting down some of those infantry forces of BikeRush. And ooh, the Pitbull's going to be wasting some of their shots on that decoy army. APC drops its mines. Nicely done there by Drive, deterring BikeRush from continuing on forward. Pitbull's coming in, but they do get seen by those rocket squads. And unfortunately for Drive, he was about to just pop up in the middle of BikeRush's expansion and get some free damage against these harvesters with his 6 Pitbulls. Instead, the Pitbulls get seen, the bikes pull back, and even the decoy army absorbing a couple of those Pitbull shots. And unfortunately for Drive, he just completely falls apart in that attack. EMP locks down an APC and a Pitbull as this obelisk takes the shots and helps to clean up that army. BikeRushOwnz happy to tech up to Tier 3 on this 2-base play before he heads to his 3rd for his expansion. Drive, on the other hand, heading south to a potential contested third expansion in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Stealth tanks sneaking into the base, and it's going to be the Tib Vein detonation to kill off the pit bulls, but not the harvesters, as Drive pulls them from the front line. And BikeRushOwnz with an attack over at the main base, snipes a harvester, forces the sell-off of that refinery, and he might even get a second harvester here as these riflemen unload on the bikes. Finally, Drive does secure his base, and it looks like the hit is going to be over at the natural. That weakened harvester from the Tib Vein detonation earlier does go down. Drive positioning his MCV in the south, but he has just taken several hits directly from BikeRush. BikeRush, with the engineer to the expansion point on the high ground, secures the third before Drive can even get there. And the Drive, who was in total control in that last game for the second half, we see not able to get his hands on the wheel here in game number 2. He's tried a bunch of things. A bunch of it has almost worked, but ultimately, BikeRush's defense has just been too good. BikeRush's expansion has been faster, and now BikeRush's tech has been outstripping Drive for the last couple of minutes of this game. Harvester is going to get targeted down. Harvester and the refinery both going down to the pit bulls, not something you see very often. Another stealth tank coming out for BikeRushOwnz. It's going to get overwhelmed, though, as those pit bulls volley and miss it. No, barely. They do get the kill. I thought for a second that stealth tank was going to survive that giant group of pit bulls by like exactly one missile. And as it stands, the pit bull herd has been significantly cut down in size. The EMP lands, Drive's MCV under threat, the lasers burning it down, and Drive with nothing on the ground to save it in the near future. No more EMPs. It looks like it's just one. No, it actually is 3 Awakened squads here. 3 separate Awakened squads. But this MCV is still taking a ton of damage. The Redeemer now out on the field, and barely Drive does save his MCV. A couple more pit bulls going down in the middle of the map. These stealth tanks picking them off, trying to earn that extra bit of veterancy. And the Redeemer now out on the field. He's got himself a Tib Trooper, and it looks like an engineer going to hop inside of that Redeemer as well. Shredder turrets, great defensive tool when you've got the supercharged particle beams, but also selling them off to get that EMP is always fun. Space Command uplink getting added on by Drive, but he's got no third base, no economy to fuel this late game fight. I assumed he wanted to go for a Marv and go for the Marvist of the southern field while potentially expanding to the top side or forcing BikeRush over to the top side. Neither of those things has happened. BikeRush has just been slowly taking control of that field. Shockwave artillery completely whiffs. It misses. It grabs Predator tanks and APCs. BikeRushOwnz, the luckiest boy in Kane's Wrath, dodges that shockwave artillery, and the RNG just favors not Drive, even though he's the one who fired it off. BikeRushOwnz pulled back his Redeemer from the shockwave or air artillery like area of effect, but also the way those shells landed just did not help out Drive, and most of the time that doesn't happen, but every once in a while that is exactly what you see. Drive finally chases down those 2 stealth tanks, and it looks like the multi-MCV is active. Drive might be trying to add on a refinery for over at the expansion after one of the harvesters got sniped by those stealth tanks. Enlightened squads are here. They've got those EMPs ready to go, locking down a Juggernaut, locking down this MCV here in the south. And unlike the last game where we had just a wall of GDI power ready to go, this is a wall of Nod lasers ready to tear GDI apart. BikeRushOwnz closes the distance on the first MCV. The Juggernauts will not be able to save this MCV, and the Spectres will get the kill. Redeemer goes for the kill on those Juggernauts, and finally, the MCV does fall. BikeRushOwnz, once again, his main base being assaulted by pitbulls. Nothing but pitbulls can break BikeRushOwnz, it appears, as this Harvester sneaking through the front line of pitbulls. And even an MCV there, both things that Drive could attack if he was a little bit more present over there with those pitbulls. Instead, he is focused elsewhere on the map, like where this big, giant Nod army is chasing down his juggernauts. Venom's coming forward, and it looks like they're going to try to engage directly with the pitbulls, and actually I guess that's going to work out all right. There's a bike in here as well, and the Venom's now going to be fighting the pitbulls directly with the repairs. Spectres coming forward. Enlightened squads going up against zone troopers directly, and the Venom's here to finish things off. BikeRushOwnz, he's taken his third. He's a little bit slow on the uptick, but he's now moving out with his laser army to the northern side of the map, and there is nothing that Drive has on the ground to hold this off. Couple of pitbulls finally going to find a bit of damage. No, the splash damage, the self-damage on those pitbulls. BikeRushOwnz may end up losing this MCV. He's trying to escape the pitbull harassment as BikeRush's entire army reroutes itself to the south. Mine drop coming in, enlightened squads, EMPs, and trying to kill off these juggernauts as he's going to catch a big group of 4 juggernauts, so these Venoms getting that free damage. The Redeemer closing the distance, and the Spectres find their marks. Drive's army falling to pieces. The Rage Gen cutting down Drive's forces before they can ever arrive on the front line of the battle. The AA batteries coming up, and the last juggernaut on the low ground goes down. BikeRushOwnz cleaning up the main base, cleaning up the natural expansion of Drive. There's the sell-off of the command post, and even the one-clicks on the high ground. The Tib Catalyst missile for the second time this game, finding its mark and killing one of Drive's refineries. That GDI unstoppable mechanized army that just crushes its way through everything in its path has not found its home in this game. BikeRushOwnz has been in control, and he's got 3 fields of Tiberium under his protection, locking Drive out of almost everything. Drive barely getting this high ground expansion. It's been the only thing keeping him in this game, giving him a shot at the comeback, and even that is a dubious chance at best. Another Juggernaut goes down. Another Juggernaut takes a huge chunk of damage. Drive passing, or BikeRushOwnz passing back through the base of Drive, the main base, and the expansion. And BikeRushOwnz is about to be a 4 Tiberium spike lad, as he is going to take both of Drive's Tib spikes and literally encircling Drive into this one little high ground position on Tournament Odyssey. Drive, he's like, this is a ton of anti-air, and still the Venoms have the boldness to fly in, and they actually do get the snipe on a Juggernaut Husk. BikeRushOwnz re-expanding to his own main base, transferring some Harvesters over, finally healing up that Conyard. He nearly lost that Conyard, which wouldn't have totally crippled him, but it would have done a lot to cut down his production. He still would have had this War Factory for sure, but then he would have had to have spent his time rebuilding that MCV and not building more Spectres, not building more Avatars. He would have lost out on the opportunity to expand back to his main and get that economy rolling again. BikeRushOwnz, I think, has just been spending more money than Drive, and in this particular case, it's okay because he's been able to take control of more Tiberium than Drive. But, ooh, a nuke being added on. Is this a real nuke? It looks like it is. Yeah, master computer countermeasures are there. And, well, Drive's got a ton of pitbulls, but this is a multi-MCV play from BikeRushOwnz. When you've got a full power economy and you've got BikeRushOwnz, it's hard to stop the multi-MCV plays. Bike buggy Venoms coming in, Shredder turrets just poking away at this pitbull army, and this is a war of attrition that BikeRushOwnz is happy to fight. Pitbull swinging over to the right side, the Venoms still trying to trade, but the GG gets called. Drive drops game number 2, and the score equalizes 1-1. These two guys bringing the action, bringing the fire in these matches. And yeah, BikeRushOwnz just outstripping Drive over the course of that game. Drive looking pretty good at the beginning, and then the longer that game went, the further and further ahead that BikeRush got. Nearly 30,000 credits in the lead for BikeRush. And that will do it for game number 2, which sends us to game number 3. Which takes us to Tournament Los Angeles for game number 3, the tiebreaker, the momentum maker. In the north, playing as the green. If you can't beat him, join him. Markus K, it's Drive. And as the red, Markus K in the south, a pure Markus K mirror. This is BikeRushOwnz. Drive looking to, I guess, copy, or maybe he's got something specific planned. But the Markus K mirror, we'll see. We will see. I mean, I feel like BikeRushOwnz is going to have the Markus K advantage, but he's not perfect. You know, BikeRushOwnz makes his own mistakes, and maybe Drive will have the better EMPs. Drive and Futurama are both guys that can switch it up faction-wise and still give a good performance. But I definitely feel like Drive is maybe stronger with GDI and then maybe with like one of the Scrin factions. But we'll see how he does with Markus K. There we go. Now we're seeing it. Okay. So he's hoping for some EMPs. What is the fast tech? Does he know that he doesn't have flames? Okay, so he's gonna garrison rockets? Okay, so Tib Troopers and rockets versus Double War Factory from Drive, and it's going to be bikes, but also Drive does see this. He had a scouting, and actually he gets the deploy of the Reckoner immediately, so BikeRushOwnz is going to be able to slow down those bikes, and I don't know if this is what BikeRushOwnz was actually planning, but this is the play regardless. It looks like it was an MCV cell from Drive, so he is going pretty all in with this play. This is not really something he's necessarily looking to transition out of. He didn't get a second harvester. Oh, that's really weird. Normally you get the second harvester, and I guess he has enough power with just the 2 power plants. I was thinking he needed a 3rd power plant for the Double War Factory. Obviously, that would completely shut him down. I guess he could walk the engineer across the map and try and capture the tib spike of BikeRush. That's really the best thing probably to do with that engineer. The pressure has let up, and Drive gets a 3rd harvester? Normally with the 2 War Factory all in, you want 2 harvesters right from the start. You need that earlier, faster eco. In this case, BikeRushOwnz, he doesn't have his own second refinery, but he might actually feel safe enough to get a second refinery at this point. There's going to be 4 harvesters here for BikeRushOwnz, which is about to outstrip the economy of Drive. Drive could use this opportunity to steal a couple of loads of blue Tiberium from the middle of the map. Use the cover of his bike and buggy attack. Laser turret gets added on, and this is a scrunched up laser turret that is meant to defend the harvesters right at their refinery. Buggy gets cleaned up. BikeRushOwnz takes a little look over to the left side, make sure that there's no attack coming from the natural expansion area, and BikeRushOwnz adds on a second refinery. He's up to 4 harvesters, so if this is not an MCV, Drive is just kind of playing a losing game now. I'm not sure if this was the exact build. I think Drive maybe just whiffed it a little bit by not going for that second harvester. The laser turrets are here. BikeRushOwnz is going to run out of cash faster, but he's the one who doesn't have to spend time and money rebuilding an MCV. He decides to get an additional War Factory, so he's going to match the production of Drive. Drive is going to cut down the tib spike. Always nice to find that damage. And I guess this game is either... Oh, okay, never mind. BikeRushOwnz sells his own MCV. And I don't know. Drive, I think, just lost an engineer. BikeRushOwnz somehow sniped the engineer all the way there in the corner, about to get the EMP control center. I mean, it's always nice to have that big area of effect EMP rather than the smaller EMPs. But Drive did not go for his own EMP control center. He went for the far one. Looks like BikeRushOwnz is going to be going for his own EMP control center there in the corner of the map, I would assume. Harvester trying to steal from the middle of the map, but that's not quite going to work out. Scorpion tanks, buggies, and bikes. A mix for both players. A couple of rocket troopers for BikeRushOwnz as well. Drive coming in. Drive trying to steal from the blue Tiberium in the middle of the map. Trying to cover. There's a big EMP fired from the Bike Rush side. No return EMPs as of yet. Big clump of tanks, but only 2 of them get caught. Drive cutting through the forces of BikeRushOwnz. His buggies are overwhelming the numbers of BikeRushOwnz, but he doesn't push any further. He just wanted the blue Tiberium. He cuts down the army just a little bit. He steals that blue Tiberium, and that is going to fuel him into the next stage of the game. And we're at a point where, I don't know, does Drive go for another MCV at this point and try and expand? Does BikeRushOwnz just keep up this double War Factory play that he started? BikeRushOwnz with the reactionary double War Factory. Man, that blue Tiberium really helps with that double income, but the same drop-off rate. That really helps with this double War Factory production when you're in a situation like this. Drive pushes out. He's still got his Tib spike, and he might actually be able to jump on this Harvester. I think that might be worth it, sacrificing a couple of units to get that Harvester. He may be forced into the engagement. No, he's still able to disengage. The tangle isn't too bad. He gets a couple of Scorpion tanks of Bike Rush on the way out as well, and now he's going to try and secure his own blue Tiberium. He cuts out Bike Rush's legs from beneath him with that blue Tib. And Drive, well, there's one EMP. It catches a couple of buggies, catches a Scorpion as well. BikeRushOwnz finds a good angle, but the Harvester escapes. There's no stealth detection from the side of BikeRushOwnz, so he can't kill the Harvester. The bikes come in. Can Drive actually seal the deal? If he can kill off the Harvesters, there's the sell-off for the EMP, but it doesn't land. BikeRushOwnz looking for the angle, but he doesn't find the angle to lock down these bikes, and Drive still causing a bit of mayhem, a bit of chaos for BikeRushOwnz. He could dive in and go for the commit. He could try and go for the kill. It would be suicide at this point, but he forces the sell-off of one of the upgraded power plants. There's a whiff of an EMP. The miss there, as BikeRushOwnz unable to get far enough ahead of those bikes. They're so darn quick. Landing an EMP on them is really difficult. Drive almost going for another load of blue Tiberium. Drive, somehow, is he out all in BikeRushOwnz? I'm not sure if that's even possible, but it seems like he might be on the verge of doing that. Drive with a couple of bikes heading back around the north side of the map. BikeRushOwnz unable to crush that bike force, but eventually Drive might swing back through. Drive almost doing critical damage to Bike Rush there, but it just wasn't quite enough. He didn't actually kill any Harvesters. The sell-off of one refinery isn't that big of a loss to BikeRushOwnz. You only need the extra refinery if you're really using it. And as the Harvesters have to drive further and further away to get Tiberium, they aren't really using both of those refineries. BikeRushOwnz goes for another load of blue Tiberium. It looks like he will be able to escape with this one. The bike's a little bit far behind to give that stealth detection. Sells off one of the war factories, sells off a power plant as well. BikeRushOwnz just needs to hold the line. Beautiful EMP, double EMP, locking down a huge amount of these Scorpion tanks. BikeRushOwnz pulls together some kind of defense, but it's not enough. The bikes get destroyed on the left side. The Scorpion tank numbers are not enough. BikeRushOwnz EMPs were good, but they weren't enough to stop Drive from crushing on forward. The EMP Drive gets caught once again. BikeRushOwnz has actually, with inferior numbers, pulled out an engagement here that has almost worked. He's not out of the woods yet, but Drive has taken a lot of extra damage from fewer units of BikeRushOwnz. That little tank reverse move bug catching Drive there as BikeRushOwnz has been defeated. The GG gets called, and Drive takes game number 3, puts another point on the board and says, I am not going home early. Drive looking like he is in shape to take this tournament from BikeRushOwnz, the expected favorite heading into it. What a series we have on our hands. So let's jump into game number 4. And we finally made it after all of this time to Tournament Highlands, back on a classic for another marked of Kane mirror as the green on the right side. This is Drive. Coming in red hot to this finals, looking great. Switching up the factions as well as the red nod. Marked of Kane, excuse me. This is BikeRushOwnz. BikeRushOwnz needs to get the feet back under him. What a set Drive is delivering here. I cannot believe he managed to pull off that double War Factory all-in against Bike Rush. And what a weird turn of events. But hey, great way to keep your opponent on their toes in game number 3 of a series of a best of 7. Is to switch up your faction to Marked of Kane and then just hit him with it. I assume we won't be seeing the same kind of thing here. I'd be kind of surprised with sort of the size and the layout of this map if it does go to that. We have seen some people attempt those sorts of all-ins, double War Factory, heavy aggro play. It tends to not work out, and no, never mind. Okay, Drive is going to try the exact same thing again. BikeRushOwnz getting scouted by this Awakened squad of Drive, and BikeRushOwnz goes double refinery, and BikeRushOwnz is only just now going to be seen that, okay, that is way too much stuff, and BikeRushOwnz hasn't actually seen the double War Factory until just now, but he knows that is way too many bikes for this to be a normal game for sure. BikeRushOwnz deploys on the other side, sells off one of his refineries, so immediately gets a little bit of cash back, and also reduces the areas that he has to defend. EMP locks down 3 bikes right out of the gate. That's a great start for BikeRushOwnz as far as he's down on production. He didn't have the numbers to match Drive, and that one EMP helped seal the deal. That one EMP helped BikeRushOwnz to get onto even footing with Drive. Drive, 2 harvesters right out of the gate. Adding on a 3rd harvester, are you kidding me? He is actually kind of just repeating the same one base play from the last game. 2 Tib spikes going to be helping to fuel this game. And I mean, Tournament LA is definitely a different kind of a map from Tournament Highlands, but I guess he's gonna try and make the same strat work again. War Factories flanking either side of this single refinery for Drive, so that should be some pretty good healing capabilities if there is any harassment that comes in from BikeRushOwnz. Drive checking the blue Tiberium as well, just to make sure that BikeRushOwnz isn't stealing that without getting punished for it. And honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea for Drive to try and get over there and go for, okay, BikeRushOwnz drops a 2nd War Factory, sells his MCV as well. He positions onto the north side of the field, but it is happening all over again, basically the same kind of thing. And an engineer by BikeRushOwnz trying to sneak around the edge of the map. I completely missed that. And another one over there. So they both tried to do essentially the exact same thing. Sneak an engineer along the edge of the map. And they got about 80% of the way there before the engineer was found out by their opponent. And in this particular case, we saw I think BikeRushOwnz in the last one on Tournament LA sniped that engineer over by that EMP control center, and this is clearly just something that these guys are checking for as we see them both try and execute that engineer sneakiness around the edge of the map and also kill the engineer sneakiness that their opponent was trying. So I guess it's common enough that these guys know to always look for it. BikeRushOwnz looking to reorganize himself a bit. We're in this extended, what starts out as essentially an all-in build, but then it just extends out beyond that and turns into just kind of a slow eco game. It's a weird situation where the economy of a pro game and the economy of a noob game converge, you know, somewhere, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes in. It's like pro game where they both go for a stupid one base all-in strats, and then a noob game, they have the same economy after the 5 or 6 minute mark. Scorpions in good number from BikeRushOwnz. BikeRushOwnz landed that first pretty good EMP, and then since then, he hasn't been able to land anything else. Drive, that is one disadvantage that he has as the aggressor. One of them is that he doesn't have any easy way to bring those EMPs right to the front line. BikeRushOwnz constantly patrolling that northern blue Tiberium. I love that Drive kills the Tib spike of Bike Rush. Make sure that he gets that little bit of damage done to Bike Rush. Scorpion tanks and bikes in the north for Drive, going to be pushing away the forces of Bike Rush. Drive repositions towards the middle of the map. Not really how I was expecting this 2 games to go. I mean, Tournament LA, okay, sometimes you see a crazy aggressive build, and it's good to see a little mix-up in a best of 7, but 2 games in a row, the exact same build from both guys. And once again, Drive being the aggressor in this situation, BikeRushOwnz being the reactionary all-in. As a change of pace from how things used to be. BikeRushOwnz pulls the attack bikes to the north side. Drive may have found a little pocket of tanks that he can descend upon. Let's see. BikeRushOwnz has got a decent line as Drive is coming down the hill. His units are bunched up a bit more, but he just might have the better numbers. Reverse move, perhaps catching one of those Scorpion tanks of BikeRushOwnz. BikeRushOwnz, if he can get the power plant, that might be lights out in more than one ways, as there goes the production of Drive. He's going to have to either sell off one of those war factories, or he will be at half production times, basically, for the rest of this game. And from here, I mean, his options are build an MCV or build an MC. I don't even know what you can do from this situation. You lose that power plant, and you just literally can't produce at the same rate as the other guy. Which is funny, because BikeRushOwnz has one power plant which is way far exposed, and Drive could do the exact same thing to BikeRushOwnz. But he just hasn't done it. I don't think anyone's gone for the blue Tiberium just yet. No, it looks like BikeRushOwnz did manage to sneak out one load of blue Tiberium. Scorpion tanks clashing in the north. Yeah, Drive with those doubled production times. That's another thing. With no MCV, these guys are doing everything in this match without radar. So they don't have the mini-map to guide them, and they're just having to position their armies completely blind. They're having to track and position their army without being able to see the mini-map, which for something like, you know, if you come from the world of StarCraft 2 where the mini-map just never disappears, it's never something that you play without. The idea of having to play and position this army and make all of the decisions, make all of your micro and macro decisions, all without being able to see the mini-map. It's kind of crazy. Scorp tank versus Scorp tank. It's about the numbers. The EMPs are lacking from both sides. I feel like Drive has more Scorpion tanks, but Bike has more bikes, and maybe he can collapse on from the north. But no, it looks like Drive is standing tall right in the middle. The numbers for Bike Rush seem to be disappearing, and the reinforcements are not enough as Drive comes up the hill. The slow production didn't matter. He just had more stuff. And this is a time where BikeRushOwnz is getting rushed and owned all at the same time. The EMP locks down a couple of tanks there. BikeRushOwnz is going to try and round this out into some kind of a game. The Harvester's going down, and Drive needs to kill Bike Rush here, or at least kill all of the army or all of the economy. Take your pick. The Scorpion tanks go down. I think that's going to be it for BikeRushOwnz. He sells everything, and Drive goes into the match point for this series. Can you believe it? Drive up 3-1 after 4 games against BikeRushOwnz. It looks like this tournament might be a bit of a one-sided finals, but not the way a lot of people were predicting. And that will send us into game number 5. And it's on to Small Town, USA for the no mistakes portion of the tournament. In the north, as the green, marked of Kane, this is Drive. And in the south, as the red, sticking with that marked of Kane, this is BikeRushOwnz. His tournament life on the line, up against the ropes. Can you believe it? This is the guy who wins so much stuff that people just get bored of him winning, and they want to see something else, and now this tournament series is here to deliver. These guys bringing it all out for the finals of the Christmas Comes Late tournament. Rocket Squad jumping into that building, and it looks like Bike Rush is going to be able to dislodge Drive here, or excuse me, Drive is going to be able to dislodge Bike Rush here from outside of Drive's main base. Bike Rush getting that building close to the edge of Drive's base, but not quite there. Drive going to go ahead and split out a couple of awakened squads. BikeRushOwnz has one in the north, Drive has one in the south, and it looks like they will little bit of a clash there, as BikeRushOwnz will actually lose the fight in the south, if you can call one guy shooting and one guy not shooting a fight. And of course, hey, look at that! Double refinery from both players on the smallest map. I mean, there is a ton of garrisons on this map, so that might have influenced how they decide to do things. But in this particular case, both of them going for double refinery standard openers. And it looks like BikeRushOwnz is going to try and be annoying. He's going to catch this harvester maybe. Yep, gets the harvester, gets the refinery. That one EMP is not enough to, like, change the course of the game. But that's just a great way to start things out. And that's a great way to disrupt your opponent in a really annoying way. BikeRushOwnz gets a pretty good scout on everything that Drive is doing. Into the operations center for BikeRushOwnz. This is all off of 2 power plants. So we'll see if BikeRushOwnz actually uses this for anything. It could be another Reckoner play, as we saw in an earlier match. Shredder turret does get spotted there, and it's just more bikes coming out. Actually, that's, yeah, Bike bringing his own forces home. Drive comes through the middle of the map. No MCV move, his own operations center as well. The mirror continues. BikeRushOwnz drops a safety hand of nod in his main base. Drive gonna take a shot at the bikes of Bike. Just a bit of an even trade there. I think the bikes are gonna trade pretty evenly between those two guys. And that's actually sell-off of the operations center, so Drive does not keep the ops center around. He actually sells it off after he gets his tier 3. He is playing as bad of a cutthroat of a build as you could ask for. 1 base tier 3 tech. He is going all the way. And is this just for the 1-clicks, or does he have something else planned? All right, well, there it is. Tib Chemical Plant. BikeRushOwnz does not get the sale, but also that was, on all things considered, that was a terrible catalyst missile. It caught none of the harvesters, and normally the hope is for something like that, you get the harvesters tagged down to low health, and then you're able to swing in with some bikes a moment later and catch them. Meanwhile, BikeRushOwnz, it looks like he's going to be able to get 2 harvesters down to low health with his own catalyst missile. So that's a good catalyst missile from BikeRushOwnz. They both nuked 1 refinery, but it's going to be the harvesters that take the brunt of that damage. They do get healed up, and now it's into the Redeemers. A one-base Redeemer play. Fast tech from, it looks like, at least Drive. May I think Bike Rush is about to finish that up, too. Where's the Redeemer? All right, there's the Redeemer Engineering Facility. They're doing the exact same thing. It's just Drive is a little bit faster. Bike Rush got the additional damage against the Harvesters, but that got all healed up. And now it's going to be the same one-base Redeemer from both players. And the sell-off of the other War Factory, BikeRushOwnz hasn't sold his, so he might have some cash problems, but honestly, his biggest problem is that he doesn't have enough refineries. Drive, on the other hand, sold off his other War Factory, so his production has completely halted while this Redeemer gets out, and the Redeemer is 99% done. Okay, it finishes, so BikeRushOwnz had an opportunity there, but didn't quite realize it. The lack of production from Drive could have been devastating while Drive was building that Redeemer, but it wasn't. Everything kind of just worked out all right. There's the sell-off immediately, and there's an EMP. Gets himself like 4 Harvesters. Of course, those Harvesters aren't really doing anything anyways, so it's not like he got 4 Harvesters that were actively harvesting or anything. They split the map, one to the north, one to the south. BikeRushOwnz goes north, and Drive goes to the south. The expansion's coming up. I have to imagine their timings are pretty similar, but BikeRushOwnz is actually ahead on the expansion timing, so he can transfer at least some of his Harvesters over to his natural and leave the others here to deal with the main base. BikeRush's Redeemer goes to the north. The Harvester takes a big chunk of damage. BikeRushOwnz getting a couple of swings against Drive's Harvesters back in his main base, and it's going to be a War Factory in the south for Drive to follow up that refinery at the natural. Obelisk gets deployed. Doesn't look like Bike Rush brought any EMPs. Drive did, and the first Harvester going to be going down. The bikes finally secure a kill, and he's going to trade pretty much all of his bikes to get that kill. BikeRushOwnz will escape with 2 bikes heading down to the south. He will get a complete scout, it looks like, on Drive's base down here. 1 bike does get sniped, but the other one will make it through the defenses, and then Drive will kill it with the Redeemer there. But BikeRushOwnz has a really good sight of what Drive is doing. Definitely not ideally placed refineries, but they are certainly safe from catalyst missiles. And that is well outside of the radius of anything. That might actually be safe from the original game's catalyst missile before it got nerfed in the patch. All right, Redeemer coming up for BikeRushOwnz. Drive, on the other hand, he doesn't have EMP coils, but is he researching it? Yeah, it looks like it's about 50% done, although he could be getting Tib Core, or he could be going for supercharged particle beams. Spectre, 1 Spectre, 2 Spectres, and an Engineer to steal the Tiberium Spike of Drive. Drive, on the other hand, is not putting the same kind of pressure on BikeRushOwnz. Drive, on the other hand, decides to maybe turn his forces back up to the north, which could be a real problem if Drive is the one lacking the artillery. BikeRushOwnz is going to be able to press in here, but Drive actually went multi-MCV. BikeRushOwnz just kept his original MCV and moved it up north. Double airfield, so he must be going supercharged particle beams. BikeRushOwnz is looking to, I guess, have a mobile attack force that he can cut down the forces of Drive with. I think Bike Rush is thinking that there will be more Spectres on the side of Drive, and so he's hoping that he can rush in with his Venoms and get the kill. Stealth Tech does get spotted out, but that Tib Trooper will ensure that it dies. Drive with a single avatar in the south. Tib Troopers getting cleaned up in the main base of Drive. BikeRushOwnz has got to be careful. His tournament life could end right here with Drive's SAM sites destroying his Venoms. BikeRushOwnz, he sneaks a couple of bikes through. How? Where did these bikes even come from? BikeRushOwnz getting EMP'd as Drive will clean up those bikes very nicely. And a long-distance auto-harvesting harvester going to Drive's field is actually going to get him a little bit of a scout as well. BikeRushOwnz gets a good chunk of damage out of a couple of these harvesters and gets the refinery as well. The payback from earlier, as Drive was the first one to strike out with the one-clicks, but BikeRush will do the more damage with it. And there's going to be the Drive scouting buggy coming in here. Redeemer might be able to snipe it before it sees anything too valuable. I think he may have been able to see this refinery. We'll see. Drive doesn't actually have a... He doesn't have a chemical plant just yet. Spectre does get sniped. BikeRushOwnz with those 3 Tib spikes this whole couple of minutes of the game. Definitely going to be feeling good about that. 1 power plant getting taking some damage in the north, but Drive replaces it before it even goes down. BikeRushOwnz and Drive both looking to end the game, but both kind of without the tools to... not the courage to engage. They have very similar tools at the end of the day. BikeRushOwnz losing 2 Venoms there as he skates past the base of Drive. BikeRushOwnz, he's got those 4 avatars. He's got himself the stealth reveal of the Venoms. And he's actually just going to try and fight these SAM sites straight up. He will take down the turrets. And the mine drop directly on top of that Redeemer. So the Redeemer is going to absorb some of those mines, and the Venoms are going to have to cut and run. As BikeRushOwnz comes forward, there's the first EMP locking down the Redeemer. BikeRush's forces descending upon it, and Drive had no idea. He's got no reinforcements close by. The Redeemer getting targeted down, but will it be enough? Drive returns the fire with SAM sights and with Venoms. The Redeemer of BikeRush is here. The avatars are here. The reinforcements from Drive are nowhere to be seen. And Drive falling at the last moment. The Rage Gen fires off. The return fire Rage Gen as the reinforcements come up from the south, but it's only 1 avatar. Where's the rest of your army, Drive? Where is it to end BikeRush's life and to claim the championship here? BikeRush stomping all over the base of Drive. BikeRush looking to encircle Drive and keep his life alive a little bit longer. Shredder turret versus Shredder turret. The supercharged particle beams being upgraded on both sides. Low power mode for Drive as he tries to keep his numerous base defenses online. His only hope to strike out with Venoms to the BikeRush side of the map. But it's going to be an MCV snipe, the technology reset, and even the power plant's going down. BikeRushOwnz, his defense back home is a little bit thin, but it doesn't need to be very much. His MCV is safely in the old main base of Drive, which is now as much BikeRush's main base as it is Drive's main base. The return fire, the mine drop on top of the Redeemer of BikeRush. But Drive, what is his response? He's literally got no army. He's got 1 flaming avatar just burning down, basically. Too scared to engage. A second SAM site gets deployed. Drive trying to go for the harvesters of BikeRushOwnz, but BikeRushOwnz has got his own Venoms. He clears the skies, and that is it for the army of Drive. The obelisk falls, and this 1 burning avatar might be the only thing left for Drive. I think that was a decoy army that just got deployed there. I'm not sure what that was about. BikeRushOwnz with so many avatars here. The magnetic mines finally all get cleared. The last of the power plants go down. And Drive, I mean, he's got basically nothing left. I'm genuinely unsure of what his plan is to how he's going to win this game. But BikeRushOwnz has bought himself another chance to win this finals. They're both guaranteed $100 for making it into the top 2. First place gets $185, and second place gets $100. And BikeRushOwnz, ooh, okay, there we go. The Redeemer Engineering Facility is back up and running. He can't do anything about the, 6 versus 1 avatars, or the Spectres that are only on the side of BikeRush. At this point, BikeRushOwnz might be able to just cue a move into the base of Drive and burn it all down. What is BikeRush waiting for? I'm not exactly sure. But he might just be waiting for his 1-2 Spectres. Oh, no, he's got a third Spectre now to break down the stuff of Drive. And I'm not sure what Drive is waiting for. He's hoping he can pull something out with this Redeemer. You know, 70-80% of the way done. It's almost ready to pop, but this is going to be a lot of Rage Gens to defeat BikeRush. I mean, we've all seen the Rage Gen do some pretty amazing damage in the past, but it would have to be the world's best Rage Gens. He might actually go, he's going double engineer inside of the Redeemer, so he is going a super tank Redeemer. He does not want this thing to die without having a chance to escape. And Rage Gen once again. BikeRushOwnz already preemptive. As soon as he hears that, I'm guessing he immediately just starts force firing the ground. He's like, you are not going to rage me for no reason. Air Tower gets sold off. BikeRushOwnz with 3 Tiberium fields theoretically under his control. He actually isn't harvesting from Drive's main base Tiberium field. And Drive is just going to try and leave? Like, what? I guess if BikeRush somehow dies while attacking this base, then Drive might have a chance, but I'm not sure how Drive is going to kill off BikeRush here. Spectre's hidden in the corner, a great attempt, a great idea. The EMP's locking down BikeRush's Redeemer, and about 50% of its health gets deleted, but then the Venoms come in, they clear the ground, and they clear out those Spectres. Drive's entire base is about to be laid waste to, and BikeRushOwnz wipes out most of the artillery. The Venoms fall to pieces as the Tib core SAM sites explode upon them. So I think it's now reset to BikeRushOwnz is the only person with any artillery at all. And, well, in real life and in RTS games, you don't want to be the guy who doesn't have artillery. Spectre's waiting, standing by for BikeRushOwnz. Drive, I'm not sure. BikeRushOwnz has literally built so much random stuff that he's ready to go. Well, let's see. Are those refineries close enough? Oh, he sells them both off! He sells off both of the refineries. And I guess that is what happens sometimes. So BikeRushOwnz says, I'm going to take your refineries away from you. And Drive says, nope, because I'm going to take them away from myself. BikeRushOwnz, I think he can QA move at this point. He's going to take down the Disruption Tower. He's going to reveal those power plants, and it's going to turn into a base race. But one guy has just a corner to clear out, and the other guy has 80% of the map to delete. Drive just can't kill the stuff of BikeRush fast enough. It would take him too long to walk, and his MCV would be too slow to move. Drive hasn't packed up his MCV and moving along. I mean, really, that's kind of his only hope. BikeRushOwnz keeping all of his tech alive for now, even his tier 3 there in the corner, just preserving it. And the GG comes out. Drive has been defeated. BikeRushOwnz puts another point on the board. Drive plays out the longer game, but the longer that game went, the more BikeRush was in control. Somehow, the weird, ultra-aggressive short games are the Drive games. Those are the ones that he's winning, and BikeRushOwnz bringing us back with just consistent domination there in game number 5, which sends us to game number 6. BikeRush is still on the precipice, and Drive needs to just close out this series to win the tournament. Which takes us to the one, the only, Tiki Turmoil for game number 6. It could be the end of the road for this guy in the south, the red GDI. This is BikeRushOwnz. Switching it back to just regular old GDI. No black hand for this guy. No scrin for that guy. Then the north. As the green, marked of Kane, this is Drive. He's feeling the marked of Kane. I mean, BikeRushOwnz took that game off of him with Marked of Kane, and then Drive was like, well, I'm going to win with Marked of Kane. And it's worked out pretty well up till now. Drive still with the point advantage. If he can just close this series out, he gets himself the first place prize. BikeRushOwnz wins that scouting fight somehow. Feels like you need about 18 rifle squads to kill one awakened member. But back to a GDI versus Nod kind of match. Hopefully... Oh, okay, never mind. Forget everything. Forget everything that anyone was about to say. Wait. He did it again. What is this one harvester play? I guess, you know, look, I don't play at this level, but I'm pretty sure you need more than one harvester. Maybe you can get through the first part of the match with just one harvester. All right, let's see how BikeRush is able to hold this. He doesn't quite have a total read on what Drive is doing. I think those units of Drive just skirted past the BikeRush viewing distance. And this MCV may actually get jumped on. BikeRushOwnz is usually pretty good at deploying it quickly, and yes, he does, before the bikes even get there, and BikeRushOwnz now knows what's up, but he's going to have lost a couple of seconds. It's do or die here. Drive commits to the attack. He's going to get one harvester very easily there, but it's 4 harvesters here for BikeRushOwnz. There's the sell of one of the refineries. That extra cash boost is nice for BikeRushOwnz. Second harvester goes down. Drive has equalized their economy, but not with the MCV. 2 watchtowers now present. The next attack is going to be that much more difficult for Drive to pull off. BikeRushOwnz sees what is coming his way. The second harvester is finally up and running for Drive. One Pitbull does get caught by an EMP. But I mean, one Pitbull that doesn't die, that wasn't going to attack, isn't much of an EMP consolation prize. Third harvester comes out for Drive. He gets that big burst of an attack, and now BikeRushOwnz needs to decide, is it going to be the double War Factory sell for BikeRushOwnz as well, or is it going to be try to play this out a little bit more normal? If he spreads himself too thin, then BikeRushOwnz could very easily fall into the trap that he himself killed many people with. Back in the day, BikeRushOwnz used to be like an expert at the double War Factory all-in, and then transitioning out of it. What should have been an all-in, he would somehow do just enough damage that he could transition out of it, and the other guy was so hobbled that it was actually kind of an even game, and then BikeRushOwnz would just go on to win from there. Second refinery up, he plants it along the south side of the map, right up against the edge of the map there. So there isn't going to be really a way to sneak past for Drive. Drive is going to go right past the MCV. War Factory, or Watchtower gets placed nice and far out ahead, and BikeRushOwnz is confident enough to move to his natural. So he's got 2 Watchtowers here, and he is ready to go. He's got double refinery at his main base, and Drive cleans up the scout. BikeRushOwnz confirms, yeah, this guy has got nothing going on. As long as I defend, I can win this game. First Predator tank is coming out. Could drop a second War Factory, just double pump Predator tanks. That would be pretty much perfect against everything that Drive has. 2 Watchtowers still present in the north. The bike's going to be able to clean them up quickly, but an additional Watchtower gets deployed. BikeRushOwnz looking to hold the line, and he just keeps Drive out of the harvesters, keeps Drive away from his vital infrastructure, and it's no problem. No problem at all. The Predator tanks closing in. The Pitbulls here as well. All right, Drive has played his hand. It doesn't seem to be working. His only hope is to try and ring around the rosy so much that BikeRushOwnz is in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and Drive is able to do some kind of critical amount of damage. Bike's coming in here. If Drive just commits to a big, messy attack, then BikeRushOwnz superior guns will win the day. Predator tanks closing in. Another one gets jumped on. Watchtowers with that consistent DPS, but the Harvester is going to get targeted down, and there, Drive manages to get a kill on the Harvester at the expansion, thinning the herd. BikeRushOwnz finds the damage that he needs against the Drive force, and Drive's army thins out perhaps too much. BikeRushOwnz losing only one Harvester. He can now transfer all of his Harvesters from his main base over to his natural, pivot his focus to the other side. Drive did manage to grab both of the Tiberium spikes. A nice advantage for him. Another Harvester getting targeted down, that rear armor being painful for BikeRushOwnz. 2 Harvesters transfer up. Pitbull's a little bit thin in the south. Couple of Scorpion tanks mixed in for Drive. Drive turns to the north. BikeRushOwnz constantly vigilant on the defense. Little pockets of units here and there, all of them close and ready to respond. Up against the War Factory where the repairs are the best, but the overwhelming Scorpion tanks might be too much. Drive presses forward, reverse moves over the Rifleman and away from the Watchtower. The Predator tanks from the north closing in. It's the War Factories that are giving BikeRush some kind of strength as he's now surrounding the Scorpion tanks of Drive. No EMPs to save Drive. He retreats away with a battered and bruised army. The production of BikeRush has been untouched. The economy of BikeRush continues to soar. His full load of Tiberium, his full field of Tiberium completely harvested. He's on to his second. He has held the attacks, and Drive gets pushed back. BikeRushOwnz, he's got this game in the bag. Drive has sent us into the ace match. If only BikeRushOwnz doesn't trip over his own feet, fall flat on his face, and lose the game from here. Drive has to pull out some kind of attack, and it looks like he's going to continue with the same strategy. Hit here and there, hope BikeRush is in the wrong spot, and hope that in one fell swoop I can do that critical damage that I need. Everything hinges on one successful attack from Drive. Drive should actually probably send out a Harvester or two to go for that Tiberium. Every moment that goes by, BikeRush has more tools at his disposal. These 3 Harvesters of Drive working away those 2 War Factories, providing him just enough production to keep his head above water. BikeRushOwnz sends out an engineer. He's going to look to capture his own Tib Spike back, take it back from Drive. Predator tanks pull down to the south side. The bike buggy in the very farthest corner has been found out. BikeRushOwnz, He's keeping an eye on Drive's forces. Drive, again, doing this all without a mini-map. An incredible play by Drive to just keep an eye on literally everything on the map, but without his mini-map active for 98% of this game as the time drags on. Drive finally going for his own blue Tiberium. BikeRushOwnz looking to move towards a third base. An expansion normally saves him, but in this case, he has not been able to get his production big enough that he can just overwhelm Drive. Although, I say that, and that's a lot of Predator tanks moving through the middle of the map. Feels like BikeRush should have more stuff, but he just doesn't. He's got a good group of pit bulls, he's got a good mix of infantry, and he's got a lot of Predator tanks. Rifleman gets cut down. Scorpion tanks waiting. The one downside to this kind of a build for Drive, considering that he is marked of Kane, is that he doesn't have that ability to get any more EMPs. After his first crop of Awakened Squads has died, Drive has no more EMPs to help him win these tank fights. He does overwhelm the forces of BikeRush right there. BikeRush trying to steal both of the Tiberium spikes, doesn't quite get it. His engineer on the retreat. Drive steps forward with those Scorpion tanks, but without the bike buggy here to help him seal the deal. The infantry are too much. Drive can't fight Preds and Scorpions, Predator tanks and rockets with just Scorpions. Drive's out of cash on his main field. Every load of Tiberium takes longer and longer from this point forward. Pitbull's always on the hunt, always on the harass, and Drive is going to make his stand. The EMPs would have been killer here. The Predator tanks all bunched up. The rockets not being dealt with by the buggies. It's up to the Scorpion tanks to go for the crush, to push Bike Rush back, but BikeRushOwnz has defenses that he can fall back to. As the Predator tanks fall one by one, the Scorpion tanks are actually doing it. Drive is pushing Bike Rush back. 3 Predator tanks do remain, but the reinforcements are enough to scare Drive away. 2 of those Predator tanks so low on health. One of the war factories getting sold off. The EMP lands on the Pitbulls, and Drive steps forward to win a battle, but he loses control of his economy. He has still all of his harvesters, but the GG gets called. Drive drops game number 6 and sends us into the ace. BikeRushOwnz has done it. He has brought the comeback, and he has brought us back to the brink. Both of these guys 3 points apiece, and either one of them could take this tournament. The Christmas comes late goes to the ace match. And that takes us to Tournament Dust Bowl No Poker for game number 7, the final match of the Christmas Comes Late 1v1 tournament, all the way to the ace. And this guy as the green, marked of Kane in the south. This is Drive! And in the north as the red GDI, this is BikeRushOwnz! And this is what it comes down to, a Marked of Kane versus GDI match. Tournament Dust Bowl, no poker. The last game, an $85 individual game here in Kane's Wrath in the year 2022. These two guys providing an incredibly entertaining match to finish out the tournament. And is it going to be just another all-in? Well, there's the anti-scout from Drive. Okay, he doesn't have like a quick operation center or anything. There's a second harvester. Drive powered down the war factory to get out the shredder turret to kill that rifleman. So he really didn't want that rifleman to see what he had going on. He wanted to make sure that it was as hidden as possible from Bike Rush. And now, oh, it's actually going to be a double refinery. It's a normal play, at least for now. Drive gets the careful scout with his buggy of the build of Bike Rush. So he has a good idea of what Bike Rush is doing, and he himself has got his opening all figured out. Rifleman comes in. Here's the, early mid-game scout, if you will. The expansion timing scout to confirm this Drive guy, who has been going basically double War Factory all-ins like 3 games in a row, he is not going for another one. I guess it was not 3 games in a row. There was that Small Town USA game, which kind of mixed things up from the all-ins from Drive. But Drive starting out and making his way through the tournament with GDI and then pivoting in the last moment to Marked of Kane and staying with Marked of Kane through the remainder of the series. A pivot to a different faction after he'd been playing so well with GDI, but he just wasn't able to make the GDI work against BikeRushOwnz. And, well, I guess he's just gonna keep on with that Marked of Kane. Meanwhile, BikeRushOwnz, he doesn't switch over to Scrin or anything for that last match. He's not looking to make use of any of those Scrin powers or one-clicks, no big tripod armies or anything like that. And instead, pivots back to GDI for the last couple of games. Second War Factory after the first refinery at the natural expansion. Very nice, straightforward game here for game number 7. I mean, it's been a crazy series coming into it, and now it's like the most calm, normal game to finish us out, to decide it all. Rifleman for BikeRushOwnz goes for the scout through the natural expansion field. APC catches one of the buggies with its mines. Nicely done there by BikeRushOwnz. APC does end up getting sniped there. And BikeRushOwnz, he goes into the command post. Is it going to be an Orca play? And he gets the AP ammo right out of the gate. This is a lot of buggies from Drive, and it's a triple war factory off of this 3 refinery, so the aggression is here. There are some variants of this build which you do continue out of. You don't keep the 3 refineries for the whole time. You use the 3 refineries to get yourself a big unit boost, and then you go into your third base. You go into the late game from here. But based on how Drive has been playing the rest of these matches, I kind of expect him to just go super crazy, bike, buggy, 3 war factory all the way. Sonic Emitter is here. No, it's a Sonic Shatterer here from Bike Rush, so he's going to push back these units, and there is an airfield getting deployed for Bike Rush. It looks like that is the only one out on the field. He's not gone for an airfield before that. He's instead just got the one so far. Tib Spike is going to get targeted down. That is one thing I have to give to Drive, is he is better about targeting down those Tib Spikes than a lot of other players are. Either target or capture them. Drive is pretty darn good at doing either of those things. Great hit on that Harvester by BikeRushOwnz. Clips a big chunk of the health out of that Harvester with that Orca Strike, getting very lucky with that placement there. Conyard almost gets caught, but it does get seen by Drive, so he knows the timing of this expansion. Watchtower gets deployed, AP ammo finishes up, and these APCs that shatter are super ready to do battle with these thin, light Nod units. One blast from the Shatterer, 3 bikes go down. They drive into the blast zone of that Shatterer. And BikeRushOwnz, he is happy to play a straight-up standard, normal, right down the middle GDI match. He is not playing ultra-aggressive. He is playing a defensive style and a nice standard game to finish us out. Well, that's one thing, is the Watchtowers do a really good job, and the APCs do a really good job of cleaning up those hallucinated armies. Meanwhile, Pit Bulls and the slower attack speeds of, like, the bikes do a worse job of cleaning those up. Drive commits into this attack. Big move here. He's got to get at least 3 Harvesters to really make this worth it. He has lost a ton of bike buggy on this. He's going to get his first Harvester there, but the forces of BikeRushOwnz closing in. More Watchtowers being deployed, and these Harvesters getting targeted down. A second Harvester goes down. BikeRushOwnz returns to the working line as the last bikes and buggies explode. The Harvesters safely get back to work, and BikeRushOwnz crushes the first big attack of Drive. The MCV is here, the Obelisk is here, and Drive has staked his claim on BikeRush's third base field. Multi-MCV, the follow-up is Avatars for Drive as he drops his power plants. And what is this called in? I guess an Orca Strike by BikeRushOwnz actually forces the sale of that Obelisk. Everything is going hot in this market, including Obelisks of Light. Someone has someplace to live as the Harvester gets targeted down. BikeRushOwnz pivots to the middle of the map. He's not interested in engaging with this army, with this base. It's not even really an army, it's just a couple of buildings, but those are obelisks. And Drive repositions his MCV. He pulls his avatars back, and I think he's going to try and, like, double obelisk back at home to defend against Bike Rush's pivoting army. Bike Rush, on the other hand, he doesn't have railguns. He hasn't even started the upgrade, so these Predator tanks are going to be lacking those upgrades for quite some time. Only 3 avatars on the front line, but the potential of more always looming over Bike Rush. And Drive, did he just knock Bike Rush out of this base and then just get it for himself? I think he kind of did. Hammerhead scoots over the base of a Drive and sees what is going on over there on the left side. BikeRushOwnz pulls his own multi-MCV out, and it looks like he's going to draft 1 refinery and then move on from that right side base. It could be Sonic Emitters versus Obelisks to finish out this game. Drive getting a couple of shots against the Harvesters of Bike Rush. Going to kill another one. BikeRushOwnz uncharacteristically bleeding Harvesters out. one by one. That hammerhead gets absolutely dumpstered by those SAM sights. Stealth tank heads forward, too cautious to try and engage that army. And, well, is there anything to detect stealth? It looks like not. And this harvester may be able to escape this little force. Shatterer gets a bit of damage on that harvester with the splash. Another couple of harvesters transferring over for drive. I assume a Redeemer is on the way from here, but drive hasn't done it just yet. Sonic Emitter and a Juggernaut both threatening Drive's base on the left side, and Drive is looking to make his mark by killing off BikeRush's base on the right side. This Juggernaut and this Sonic Emitter, they have no stopping. Drive has no way to stop it over there on the left side of the map. What is Drive's plan here? He's had these avatars stomping around the map for minutes now. He has not attacked one single thing with them except for like an APC, which was leading the charge, and paid the ultimate price for it. BikeRushOwnz all queued up on the right side. His units lined up nicely, and suddenly Drive feels like he has lost control of this game, and he has no idea what to do. Where's the Redeemer? Where's the Rage Gen or the big boom of the economy or something? Refinery here, but there's so many harvesters trying to unload there. They can't actually get anything done. Rifleman going for the reveal. Avatars doing battle with a rifleman and a rocket squad in the middle of the map. BikeRushOwnz pushes forward. Juggernauts inching closer and closer to the base of Drive. The refinery, one of the two refineries that are actually powering the late game of Drive, about to fall. Barracks gets deployed to body block for that Sonic Emitter. The barracks is going to be broken down. Another one will most likely take its place. Avatars, only 4 of them against this Sonic Emitter, but it's just about buying time, getting the army over here as 2 new Sonic Emitters get deployed. Still no railguns from BikeRushOwnz, no backstabbing from Drive, no one-clicks, no nothing. He's out of options. He's out of refineries. He's getting cornered and pushed back. 3 Avatar husks waiting for BikeRush to capture them, and Drive falling to pieces in game number 7 after a fantastic performance all series long. His Redeemer is his last chance, his last bit of hope, but he's already given away much of his army, and he's even going to try and stop BikeRushOwnz from capturing it, but he's already there. He actually accidentally crushes the husk of that last avatar, but no! The GG gets called, and Drive throws in the towel without fighting it out. Drive, after such an incredible performance all tournament long, just trips over his own feet and falls face first off a cliff. And that will do it. BikeRushOwnz is your champion of the Christmas Comes Late 1v1 tournament. A big congratulations to him. Once again, a big thanks to Alex and Roland, who are CNC fans since childhood, who gave the initial donation, who kicked this whole tournament off, and brought us this incredibly entertaining 2 videos of matches. And of course, to Markus K, who came in at the last moment and sweetened the prize pool, adding to it. Very big thanks to both of those guys. Big congratulations to Drive and BikeRush for both crushing it in the finals. And of course, a big, huge thanks to GwaspaRi for refereeing the whole day and making all of this stuff happen. And big, huge thanks to that, guys. Cheers to him. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Some incredibly entertaining Kane's Wrath happening here at the beginning of 2022. Thank you all very much for watching. And this is Cybert signing out.